The reason I'm going live right now is I doubt this is going to be on, it'll get mentioned maybe in a few different news sources. But for those of us that are Kiss fans, this is the kind of thing that deserves to be talked about for a little bit. And it needs to have some attention from somebody on a, broadcasting it out or talking about it. And so I figured I may as well be one of those people that does this today. We're broadcasting right now out to Facebook, a couple different channels on Facebook. We're broadcasting out to YouTube, and we're also broadcasting out to X. And looks like we have a nice group of people on here right now. And so just, I'd love to get you to put your comments on here. I'll read your comments, and I'll be reading a little bit of the news, kind of talking about what happened here today. A few weeks ago, when they announced that Ace had fallen, I was experimenting for that week, doing a live show in the morning, because we're kind of thinking about what we're going to be doing in 2026. And so we've been experimenting with different shows. So I spent a week doing a live show. I know there were a lot of people, and I really thank you for watching and giving me some feedback on that. Actually, a couple of the shows, at least one of them had over 1,000 views on it, which kind of surprised me. And so, anyway, we were just experimenting, and one of those mornings we had the news. I would just kind of get up and I'd stream out early, and we had the news that Ace had fallen and had canceled a show, and it was a show that he was doing with Quiet Riot, what's left of Quiet Riot, of course, and then Vixen. And then he canceled the show. And then we thought, oh, okay, well, he fell in his studio, and we, there's the stories about Ace when he was back with Kiss. Whenever you watched him play, he always looked a little clumsy, And when he was with Kiss, apparently he would fall down periodically, and then Gene and Paul would go over and they'd kind of stand over him, doing their little rocking back and forth of the guitars to make it look like that was part of the show. But but whenever you'd watch him, he looked a little bit pigeon-toed or something, that looked like he wasn't super stable all the time for whatever reason. And so when they said that he'd fallen down in the studio, we're thinking, well, I guess that, that maybe that happens. And I'm in a studio here, and every once in a while I trip over a cable, and, that stuff happens. And so we thought, okay. And then, and then he put out the statement. He says, hey, I'm canceling the show tonight, but please go see Vixen. Please go see Quiet Riot and whatever. And then it was a week or so later that they made the announcement that he was canceling the rest of his tour. And so Gary and I streamed out or recorded that night, and we thought, that's weird. I mean, there's got to be more going on here than we're being told. And it, it happened right on the heels of us getting the announcement that Vince Neil had, they went ahead and finished their Vegas residency just recently, or I don't know if they're finished. I think they are. But they had canceled it back in, I think it was April. And all they would tell you is that Vince had some medical issues, but they, like these things usually are, they just don't tell you much. They just kind of, medical issues, dealing with some stuff, whatever. And then we find out a couple of weeks ago that Vince Neil had actually had a stroke, and not just one stroke, but multiple strokes. And so when we got this news that Ace had canceled the rest of his tour, the first thing you start thinking is, wow, wait a minute. There's got to be way more going on than he tripped and fell in the studio. I mean, and maybe that's what caused all of this, but it wasn't just this, oops, and got a little, an ouchie or whatever. It was clear that there was something more going on. And so Gary and I got together that night, and we made a video. And many of you probably watched it. I don't know how many views we got on it, but it was thousands. I think we got, it was over, I don't know, it was a few thousand, I think we got on that video. And so he and I sat here and talked about that, like, nah, there's more going on here. And we made the video. And then, we were also still just kind of thinking, he's going to be okay. And that was the day that Gary made the comment that 74 is not that old. And a lot of you, of course, were like, excuse me, 74 is actually really old. And we were like, well, yeah, but I mean, my grandmothers, for example, both lived until their late 90s. And so at 74, you got to, you might have a couple of decades ahead of you still. But then again, some of these guys lived a little rough. And so you go, maybe they damaged themselves too much. Who knows? And we don't know all the stories yet, but I've got some news articles which I'll pull up and we'll kind of read through these for everybody. But again, the reason I want to do this tonight, I'm flying solo here in the studio. So if you guys leave comments, I'll read them. I'd love to hear your comments. We'll go over them, whatever, because we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're also on X, and we're streaming to a few different places on different platforms. So whichever one you happen to be on, I'll be checking these as we go. And I don't know how long we'll go here, hour or two maybe, and just kind of talk this through. I got a bunch of my Kiss records out. Of course, you got to have Ace's solo album, and the artwork that they did, and you might remember these things, these 4 solo albums. This was one of the coolest pictures of Ace ever made, ever. And I did a video about this cover once, because one of the interesting things about this cover that is different than the other covers is they introduced a color. And I don't know if you ever noticed this. The other albums, they didn't do this. Like here's Paul's solo album, and you'll see that they have the purple theme, purple around the edge, purple in the shadow here. But they introduced something interesting on Ace's that they didn't do on the others, and they introduced another color. And they introduced green right under there. And I just thought from the artist's standpoint, it was such a cool little subtle thing to throw into Ace's graphic on his solo album. But I think this album was a little bit of a point of contention for all the guys in the band, because Ace's album is the one that really sold. And of course, he was really the only one that had a hit, if you will, although it wasn't his song, it was New York Groove. But they ended up using New York Groove in the, I'm going to grab it real quick, in the Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. You might remember that they were fighting, actually that's that scene right there, when they were fighting those weird animal things. Anyway, that's when they played Ace's New York Groove, which is such a strange selection for a fight scene. Anyway, and I'm going to see if I can get Gary to call in here, and we'll throw him on the other microphone, and do it old school. But anyway, again, the reason I wanted to do this tonight is for those of us that were Kiss fans, that are Kiss fans, we're not going to get from news sources tonight what we really should get, which is a lot of attention for this guy that had such an impact on so many of our lives. And, because he's just not, you think of all the just kind of internationally famous people. Of course, when Ozzy died, he got a lot of attention because his name is just a lot more broadly known than Ace's is. Now, Ace, of course, a lot of people, he's a super famous guy, but he doesn't reach the level as far as fame goes as a lot of people do. But for those of us that are Kiss fans, he's like one of the most important people ever. And so he's not going to get his just due in the news today and tonight. And so I thought, well, somebody needs to go live today and just kind of give our respect to this guy that had such a huge impact on our lives. And one of the things we were talking about recently that was how when we were kids and we really started discovering Kiss, and we've been talking about a Live 1 and a Live 2 because we've had the anniversaries of those come up lately. A Live 2's was just a couple of days ago. How so many of us would just like go in our basement and turn on one of those live records or any Kiss record, and then we would be Kiss, right? And I had a good friend that was named Tom Leet, and we would just go in his basement and pull out one of the live albums, and we would just be Kiss, and we would with tennis rackets. So anyway, and I made that comment on one of our shows, and we have a producer here that isn't here tonight because he also is concerned about his family, which is a real problem for me apparently, because everybody around the studio will go be with their family, and then I come here alone. Anyway, that's a whole nother issue. But we would. I made a comment about tennis rackets and being Kiss with our badminton racket or tennis racket in the basement. And Henrik, who's one of our producers, he's like 21, 22 years old, and he was saying, "What is it you guys were doing? You playing badminton in your basement?" I'm like, no. The badminton racket and the tennis racket was your guitar. That is how you became Paul Stanley. That is how you became Gene Simmons. That is how you became Ace, was you had that tennis racket and you were in your basement with all your friends or even just by yourself and you were being Kiss. And so, and we so often then think about this. We've got Ace as as somebody that we think of as a kid, because so many of us we were attracted to the costumes, to the makeup, to the noise, all the chaos that was associated with it. But we think of it from a kid's standpoint, but we lose track, I think, of what an impact he had beyond that. Because you look at somebody like Dimebag Darrell, for example, because I think he had Ace tattooed on his chest, didn't he? You realize that this man had such a massive impact, not just on a bunch of kids, but on a bunch of people that would later become rock stars, that would follow in his footsteps. Because you had these two kind of really important points. So when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan, you have so many people, rock stars, performers that look back to that moment when they saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. And then that was when they decided they were going to be rock stars. Well, kind of the next generation of that were the people that saw these guys. And they inspired them, like Tom Morello. He talks about this, and Dimebag Darrell, and you start going down the list. And I would have to probably say, and although I was a professional musician, I was never like a rock star, I would have to say that this band and Ace also had an impact on me as a musician. I ended up playing guitar professionally and bass, actually, and being a lead singer for quite a while, made my money doing that for several years. And these guys inspired so much of that, because as a kid, I'm being impacted by this stuff. And then once I kind of graduate into my teens and I start discovering Iron Maiden and I start discovering Van Halen and I start getting into all these other bands, you realize that these guys had this lasting impact that went way beyond when you're a kid. We have quite a few people on the stream right now, and I really appreciate you joining me, because again, this is a big deal, and it's a big deal for those of us that grew up with this stuff. So let me just take a quick look at one of the news stories. So we've got, I'm going to jump over to, here's AP. We'll just look at what AP says, just kind of read this through, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Ace and what his impact on music. Man, this is like hyper frustrating, and I will get off of my being frustrated here in just a moment, as soon as I feel like we really know that we're unable to get into the comments section. So, all right. So Ace Frehley, Kiss original lead guitarist and founding member, dies at 74. Ace Frehley, the original lead guitarist and founding member of the glam rock band Kiss, who captivated audiences with his elaborate galactic makeup and smoking guitar, died Thursday. He was 74. It was funny, you listen to interviews with Ace, and one of the things that he talks about is, how much more, he says, I would have practiced a lot more if I'd have known what an influence I was going to have on so many people. And, it's so frustrating because people not Kiss, like these guys, they were terrible, they didn't know how to play. The reality of it was they were a really sharp, awesome rock and roll band. Now, they may not have been virtuosos in their own instruments individually, but you get those guys together and they made killer music. They were great. They were fantastic at what they did. And when you look at Ace specifically, he was a great guitar player, especially for their music. You look back at the solos that he did in so many of these tunes, and they're just perfect. And you read, I think Gene talks about this in his book, and I think Paul does too. And whenever they bring these other guitarists in, Vinnie Vincent and Mark St. John and whoever else, they were trying to get them to somehow play like Ace. Because Ace had that touch, he had that thing, and it's easy to downplay his impact in this music, which of course the two leaders of this band I think frequently probably do a little bit, but you couldn't have done it without him. He had that. There was just something kind of just awesome about his guitar playing and his presence and the way he would move on the stage. And just that, the Les Paul that he played, and it just, and matter of fact, we were talking about this on one of the recent videos where we were talking about the cover of Alive. Let me see if I've got that handy. Oh my gosh, there are so many, there's so many Kiss records. But we were talking about, let me see if I can find it here. It was kind of an interesting thing how on the cover of Alive, how he had his guitar kind of flipped backwards. I don't even know where it is. I should have been more careful about grabbing all my records. But you notice that he has his Les Paul flipped upside down. And I mentioned that in the video, and so many people were like, oh, it's because of this, and it's because of that, it's because of endorsement deals and different things like this. But anyway, it was just kind of one of those interesting things. But again, there was something about his presence. There was something about the way he looked. And just look at that picture of him. There was something so cool about that silver makeup. The way that he, the little bridge that goes between the two, almost like they're these space goggles or something. It's just so awesome. And he's also the only one that kind of had his mouth hanging open a little bit in this picture, which is actually kind of cool too, because it's a little bit like him, because he had a little bit of that relaxed kind of mellow thing to him. Right. And, because the way he'd kind of move around the stage and when you watch him, especially like on the Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder, you just realize that he just didn't take all this stuff with I don't want to say with the seriousness, but he didn't allow himself to get caught up in the, so much of the, what's a good way to put this? The business aspect of it. The music meant so much to him. You had Gene and Paul, who were these real kind of, and then Ace is just not that. And just having his mouth just kind of hanging open a little bit too kind of captures a little bit of that. I'm a little bit more relaxed about this whole thing, and I'm here for the music, and I'm here for the rock and roll, and I'm here for the fun and the energy and the chaos, and that's part of. I've had this conversation with people before. One of the things that makes the electric guitar such a great instrument, it's not just the precision, because when you look back at the great guitar players, like for example, let's look at Yngwie Malmsteen. Somebody commented on one of the videos the other day, because we have some Yngwie Malmsteen videos on the channel, and somebody made a comment. He goes, it was amazing listening to him at first because the precision was so incredible. He was so good. But after a few songs, you get a little bit bored because it's just all kind of the same thing. But then you have a guy like Ace, where he understands the guitar a little bit more and the chaotic nature of the electric guitar, the noises that are supposed to come out of it, and he used that by making the thing smoke. I mean, when we were kids, you probably remember, we were convinced that his guitar was catching on fire. That was the thing. His guitar catches on fire, and then the smoke and where. Of course, it was just a little smoke that came out of it. But the point was, that instrument it represents chaos. Go back and listen to Eruption, Eddie Van Halen. Part of that thing, yes, there is the precision in there, but there's also the chaotic nature of it. And that's one of the wonderful things about the way Ace played, because it wasn't this virtuoso style. It was this loud rock chaos precision at the same time. It was just, there was something so magical about it. And for their music, it was absolutely perfect. And a little bit like when I talk to people about the Beatles, a lot of people knock Ringo Starr. He doesn't play the drums. I go, yeah, okay, I understand he's no Neil Peart. I get that. But the things that he played made that music better. It was perfect for the music. And you look at somebody like Ace, where people just will really knock him, but you go, but he had that sound, he had that energy, he had that thing that made this music great and made it so that there were so many of us, like you, like me, that we were young people and we would hear that noise, we would hear that chaos, we would hear this explosive energy that would come out of that guitar. And it spoke to us somehow, in a way that other guitarists just didn't. And you add the makeup on top of it, and you add just the smoke, the whole thing. And And then you find yourself wanting to buy an electric guitar. And then that's what inspires. And I bet you there are hundreds of people, that'll be watching this that'll be able to relate to that very thing. Understanding that's what happened with Ace Frehley, what he brought to this band. And so, anyway, let me get back to the AP story. I have this way of, as those of you that follow the channel know, of kind of heading off in other directions and then rambling forever. So Frehley, let's see here. Reading again back in the Associated Press. Frehley died peacefully surrounded by family in Morristown, New Jersey, following a recent fall, according to his agent. Family members said in a statement that they are, quote, completely devastated and heartbroken, but will cherish his laughter and celebrate the kindness he bestowed upon others. Kiss, whose hits include Rock and Roll All Night and I Was Made for Lovin' You, was known for its theatrical stage shows with fire and fake blood spewing from the mouth. This is so funny. These people that write these things just don't. Okay. Was known for its theatrical stage shows with fire and fake blood spewing from the mouths of band members dressed in body armor, platform boots, wigs, and signature black and white face paint, which is almost correct. There was only fire and blood coming out of one person's mouth, and there was only one person dressed in body armor. And Ace did not have the signature black and white face paint. He also had silver face paint. Kiss's original lineup includes Frehley, singer-guitarist Paul Stanley, tongue-wagging bassist Gene Simmons, and drummer Peter Criss. Frehley is the first death among the 4 founding members. Yeah, it was funny. Right before I went live, I ran over across the street to a restaurant to get something to eat, and I called my mother. And because she follows this channel and she watches every single video. And so I said, we found out just a little while ago that Ace Frehley passed away. And so, anyway, so let's see. And I told her, I said, he's actually the first one of the original 4 that's passed away. Because, of course, we've lost, I think Mark St. John, he passed away, didn't he? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that. Yes, of course he did. And then, and Eric Carr, of course, he was one that really became a beloved member of the band. But this is the first time we've lost one of the original 4. Let's see. Band members took on the personas of comic book style characters. Frehley was known as Space Ace and the Spaceman. The New York-born entertainer and rock and roll Hall of Famer often experimented with pyrotechnics, making his guitars glow, emit smoke, and shoot rockets. That's right, from the headstock. Quote, "We are devastated by the passing of Ace Frehley," Simmons and Stanley said in a joint statement. He was an essential and irreplaceable rock soldier during some of the most formative foundational chapters of the band and its history. He is and will always be a part of Kiss's legacy. And speaking of that, those of you that have been following the channel, I'm just going to bust out the tour book. It just happens to be sitting inches away from me. Oh, there's my Kiss the live record. So those of you that followed this channel know that we've made several videos. I think we haven't released all of them yet, of this tour book, which was the reunion tour. Speaking of original members, and just wanted to pull this out and just show this again. There's, when they got back together, he still just looked so cool. I mean, just everything about him was just kind of awesome. Anyway, this is him. What this is, those of you that don't follow the channel, that don't know what's going on here, is we made a series of videos where we just kind of flipped through this. This is the reunion tour book. And so we've made a whole bunch of videos where we've kind of gone through this page by page, and you can go find it on the channel if you're interested in it. But anyway, I thought of this because they listed off all the things about Ace, and I'm just going to read this real quick with the titles they give him: the Space Ace, Cyberpunk, which is one that kind of threw us when we read that, Galactic Time Traveler, channeling the music of the planets not of this Earth, whatever. We thought that was so funny when we read that stuff. I'm going to grab Alive because I just realized we've got it sitting back over here. There's a little bit of chaos going on. We were actually on a remote shoot this morning. So this light up here, which you can't see, was not even, I had to hook a bunch of things back up when I got back in here this afternoon. Hang on a second. So the whole studio's in chaos a little bit right now. Speaking of chaos, there we go. There's a live. So this is the graphic I was talking about. I always thought this was kind of interesting how Ace on this picture had his Les Paul flipped. And I remember seeing that as a little kid wondering, what's that all about? Why are we, why is his guitar flipped upside down? Which I still don't know what, but anyway, several people commented and said, well, it's because they have these deals with Gibson from a sponsorship standpoint, and they needed to, fulfill obligations or whatever. I don't know what it was, so they could see the brand or something. Anyway, for whatever that's worth, that's what some people were saying. So let's see here. I'm just looking to see if there's any other reason why we're not seeing the live chat on here, and I don't see anything. So anyway, I really apologize for that we're not seeing the live chats, which I've even typed into it a couple times and I still can't seem to get it to pull up. So open panel, live chat, and maybe the live chat's there and I'm just not seeing it. And somebody could even, there's a few of you out there that know how to text me. If you're watching this, you could send me a text and tell me what I'm doing wrong, or if you can see it and I'm just totally stupid, which is very, very likely and very possible. But I still appreciate your patience as we work on this. I'm going to pull it up in another browser and just see if we can pull it off, see if there's anything that we may be able to see out of this. But anyway, getting back to this. Oh yeah, so we had the guitar flipped upside down, and this is so interesting that all this is happening at the same time, because we just put out that video yesterday because we had that guy that was the radio DJ that was there in Cadillac, Michigan. For those of you that watch this video, we just put this out, yesterday or the day before? I mean, we've had thousands and thousands of people watching that video. And we were just talking about the fact that in Cadillac, Michigan, they had, they'd had that thing where the band came because the football team was losing, and what they did was they started playing Kiss music because it was the Keep It Simple Stupid, and then they started winning their games. And so then Kiss came into town and they had this whole big thing with Kiss being there. And anyway, so there's a guy that was he was a DJ there, and he happened to capture this extra footage, which apparently has never been seen. And so anyway, we just did this video just yesterday talking about this. So I'm going to go to there we go. There is. Okay, live chat. I see all your live chats. Thank you for your patience. For some reason, this Mac will not show them. I'm going to go ahead and start reading a few of these. So this is from East Coaster. Ace Frehley dead, Gene Simmons looking to profit from it. There you go. Okay. Zachary Nathanson, first David Bowie, then Ozzy Osbourne, now Space Ace. Yeah. Prism Blue, bummer. Clip Culture, yes. You phone, finally. Yes, thank you, Clip Culture. I don't know what it is. I mean, this is a MacBook Air, but it does the browser. Maybe I need to install like Chrome or something. So there's a Christian puts in there, loves alive. Christian is such a great part of this community. By the way, I just want to say something while I'm thinking about it. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate personally all of the involvement that you guys have in this channel. The comments that you guys leave. I read everything. I don't get a chance to comment on everything, but it means, and especially I've got some, let's just say some really not good things happening in my life right now. And I tell you something, it means so much to me when I get all these different people commenting, and it gives me something to do and interact with. It's great. I really appreciate all of your so much involvement. There's so many people that I really appreciate. I really love you guys. I mean, we have this great community, and Gary talks about it a lot. He wants to make T-shirts. This is like this channel has kind of become a fraternity of people that love all this music, and we kind of all understand each other. And so I really, really appreciate all your support and watching the channel and giving our feedback on our videos, even the ones that suck, because some of them certainly do. But we try to do nice things. Okay, here we go. So this is Analog Daydreams. I was so lucky to have grown up around this great music. To me, when I was a kid, Ace was the coolest, cooler than any dredgy pop star that was out when I was a kid in the 2010s. Ace meant escapism. That's a great, great way to put it. Zachary Nathanson. But the most important thing is that Ace is finally at peace and not suffering anymore. Yeah, you know, it'll be interesting to find out as time goes on what really went on, because he was playing live, you know. I mean, it was one of those things where he was fine as far as as far as we know, because he was out playing shows and things. But you know, I tell you something, when it's time for you to go, it probably is, there's some sort of grace that comes with something like that when it happens and you don't have to suffer through something. When my grandfather passed away, I think he was 86. And I remember he was healthy, everything was great. I mean, there was nothing wrong with him. And then all of a sudden one day he was diagnosed with, I don't remember what it was, I think it was leukemia. And then it was like a month later, over. And I just thought, you know, I didn't want to see him go, but he didn't have to linger. It was like he was healthy, sick, gone, like that. And I think, you know, rather than years and years and years of having to suffer, that was, at least there is a little bit of grace there. So anyway, not suffering anymore. Ulissa Lindsay, heartbreaking. Thank you, Ace. East Coaster, again, Gene Simmons selling funeral tickets for $78,000. Boy, you know, we have such jaded views of Gene Simmons, don't we? Sometimes. But, you know, maybe for good reason, because he makes no bones about the fact that he is a very profit-driven dude. By the way, those of you that give me a hard time about my glasses, I ordered progressive lenses today. So you will no longer, once they come in, have to see me doing this. So I'm going to be, yeah. So anyway, that'll be, they should be in here in about a week. But we're going to be recording a bunch of things, because a lot of the videos we put out, we record sometimes even weeks ahead of time. And so you may not see me wearing them until maybe the middle of next month, but they are coming. Okay, Buddy McKinley. I mean, I got introduced as a kid that was 10 years old, that idolized them. I turned 60 tomorrow. I can't believe it's been over 50 years since Kiss has been out. Yeah, it is amazing, man. East Coaster Gene Simmons. Sell Aces. Oh my gosh. East Coaster, you are brutal, man. That's crazy. That's funny. Zachary Nathanson, we will miss the cackle, the laughter, and the guitar solo. You can't forget his solos. While I'm not a massive Kiss aficionado, they were really good. That cackle, I think a lot of us got really introduced to that. Well, I think the first time we really got introduced to it was, again, this. You know, that, I can't, I feel stupid trying to make the noise, but I'm sure some of you at home right now are making it. But he'd do that. He had that little kind of chirp that he would do, which was just hysterical. And then when he got on the Tomorrow Show with Tom Schneider, ladies and gentlemen, that was one of the greatest interviews in all of history. And you could look at Gene through that whole thing, and you could tell he was just fuming. He was so mad that Ace is just joking and being hysterical, but he was so funny. And that's what made that interview great, was because of him. He was hilarious. He was so funny. And one of the great things, because Tom Snyder looks at him and he says something like, "And what are you supposed to be?" And Ace goes, "Well, I think it should be self-evident," or something like that. Like, isn't it obvious? Which was so funny. And then he goes something like, "Well, you're a spaceman?" And he goes, "Actually, I'm a plumber." Oh my gosh. You know, and Gene's over there fuming, and I'm looking at this now 50 years later or whatever it was, going, that was hysterical. That actually made that interview awesome, was this guy. He made it so much fun. It was so fun listening to him and watching him in that interview. And everybody, I love the fact that Gene hated it. Because Ace was hysterical. It was so great. And I understand at the time, because, you know, Gene was always trying to be, it's funny because he's this comic book guy, yet he takes himself so seriously. You know, you go back to that really early stuff where he comes out and he says, "I'm evil incarnate," or whatever it was on that one show. And then that lady says, "Wouldn't it be funny if he was just a nice little Jewish boy under that?" And he just didn't know what to do with it. But Ace did, because it's like, yes, we're a rock band and we're dressed up and all this stuff, but come on, this is fun. We're supposed to be having fun right now. And Gene just was not that way. You know, it was way, this is... Anyway, that's what made him so great was that... Okay, sorry. Let me get back to your comments. All right. Let's see. Miss the cackle. So Analog Daydreams. He inspired me so much and still does. This is such a shock. I was literally talking about Ace to my best friend the other day. His cover of 2000 Man is the best version of that tune. Oh my gosh. So of course, how many of you knew that 2000 Man was a cover tune? I didn't know it was a cover tune. I mean, I'm a kid. What was I, 10 when that album came out? And I didn't look to see who wrote it. I knew Ace sang it. But that's, you know, that, of course, that's an old Rolling Stones tune. And it's a great song. And the way Ace did it, his voice, he was always very insecure about his voice. And it's one of the reasons that he didn't sing Cold Gin, you know, because that was his. Excuse me. And Gene ended up singing it. And but when he finally did sing, and I think the first one was on Love Gun when he sang Shock Me, you realize a little bit why he was insecure about his voice, because it was a little bit, it felt just a little bit, kind of like we were talking about with the guitar earlier, a little bit kind of in and out, just a little, like it was right on the edge of going out of tune all the time. And yet it made it awesome. Again, it was part of his realness. And then when he finally started singing, you know, he did Shock Me. And then on Alive 2, he did Rocket Ride, which of course is about going into outer space, right? So somebody pointed that out the other day on one of the videos. I used to think when I was a kid, and I was like, me too. Anyway, then what was so funny about that is then when Dynasty comes out, all of a sudden, what did he sing 3 songs on that album? I mean, he hadn't really sung at all. And part of the vision for of Kiss when they made the band was to make it a little bit like the Beatles, you know, to have these 4 recognizable characters and have all 4 of them sing. And so they finally achieved that on Love Gun when Ace sang, you know, when he sang Shock Me, which was such a great tune. Man, what a great tune. All right. 2000 Man, best version of the tune. Analog Daydreams, yes, it's a great version of that tune. Zigzag 20, the Space Ace has returned to his native galaxy across the multiverse to parts unknown. That's so interesting because David Bowie was that too. I don't know if you remember this, but when David Bowie passed away, I had so many people around me that were kind of like, David Bowie's not supposed to die. He's supposed to get in a spaceship and leave the Earth, leave us mortals. And interestingly, Ace is kind of the same thing. He's supposed to go back to space. A little bit like Bowie that way, so that's great. Native Galaxy, Christian, thank you again. I love Ace songs and Kiss. He had great tunes. He was a really, really good songwriter. I mean, it's kind of funny because he's a little bit in that way. If you were to do a Beatles comparison, which I don't like doing because I love the Beatles, and I've said this in a video recently, but they're in a whole nother category. But let's just do a comparison because they were trying to be like the Beatles. You had Gene and Paul, who really wrote the majority of the music, like Lennon and McCartney. Ooh, this sounds so bad when I say this, doesn't it? But what's so funny then is that you have these 2 incredible songwriters with Lennon and McCartney, and then at the very end of the career, all of a sudden, George Harrison shows up with something like one of the greatest songs ever written in history. And you go, where have you? I mean, he'd written other songs. I understand that. But you realize that you've got Lennon and McCartney are these great songwriters. But then you look over at George Harrison and you go, dude, that guy's one of the greatest songwriters ever too, on top of it. And so you had something similar here where you had Gene and Paul, who were these, you know, really good they wrote a lot of good tunes. And then all of a sudden Ace is like, I got a couple here too. And you're like, whoa, not only these are great songs. Like Rocket Ride is a great song. Shock Me is a great tune. Cold Gin is great. Anyway, he did some great stuff. Let's see here. Ulyssa Lindsay puts a question, co-founder of KISS. Well, you know, Gene and Paul really were the founders of KISS, but when you look at when they first kind of, because they were Wicked Lester, but when you look at the originals, that band, you couldn't have had KISS without Ace. So in that sense, you know, he really was part of that foundational, founder or foundation of this band. Let's see. Let's see. East Coaster again. Ace dead. Semi Gene will profit. Keeps pounding on Gene. Prism Blue. True. Mark. I'm gutted. East Coaster selling Ace's old socks. Marcos Caesar. Kiss family in mourning. Rest in peace, Ace. Yes, indeed. Thank you. Analog Daydreams. Ace's voice is one of the most unique things ever heard. It's awesome. Frehley's Comet kicks ass too. I remember when Frehley's Comet came out. I bought it instantly. And I think I got it back in the collection. I should have grabbed that while I was thinking about it. But anyway, I'm never going to get through all these records anyway. But yeah, because that first one had Anton Fig on it too. And I remember when that came out, everybody was pretty excited about it. And that's the one that had Rock Soldiers, right? Didn't it have Rock Soldiers on that one? I don't know why I can't remember all of a sudden. If Kerry was here, he'd correct me. That's a great photo on a live. Christian, yes, indeed, it is. East Coaster. More slamming on Gene. Isaac, glad I got to see him live last summer. You know, that's something. I never saw Ace, and I never saw him live. Not with Kiss. I didn't see them on the reunion tour. I never saw him live. Isaac, glad I got, let's see, Skyscraper, rest in space, Ace. That's a good way to put it. Let's see, Gene raising prices on Kiss products by 40%. Buddy McKinley, I read a memoir decades ago where Gene Simmons hated his laugh, and that was something that I always loved about Ace. Really, his laugh was always loud. Yeah, that really, it really was kind of, Ace's laugh was pretty awesome. By the way, am I in focus? I'm looking at my picture right now, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm actually in focus. You know what? Will you allow me to step away for just a moment? I'm going to go check this camera because I'm here alone. I'm just going to make sure, because I would hate looking at this beautiful face out of focus. This will take me 10 seconds. Just give me a moment. This is my father's book, a little behind the scenes with the Audiomover show. Whenever we're getting set up, this is what we focus our cameras on, my dad's book, which is available on Amazon if you're interested. Checking the focus. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay. Sorry, my phone does not look right for some reason, so I just wanted to make sure, because there's nothing worse than staring at something that's out of focus. Okay, where did I put my phone? Here we go. Let's read some more of these. And by the way, thank you for joining me tonight. Like I said, the reason I'm doing this is he's never going to get the kind of recognition that for those of us that grew up with this stuff that think he deserves. And I figured somebody's got to get online. And there's probably other people doing this too, but I figured I'd just kind of join in and be somebody that goes out of, we need to go out of our way and really say how important this guy was to so many of us. Let's see, Isaac, glad I got to see him last summer. Rest in space. Gene now raising Buddy McKinley, memoir, laugh was always loud. Yes, Deadeye. My first concert was 1979 Dynasty at 14, 12, 13 years old, 1977, 78. I used to daydream that Ace would come to my house in full costume to give me guitar lessons. I love that. Us naive kids, because of course, these guys were always in these costumes, always. They lived in a cave somewhere, with big computers and all kinds of amazing stuff. These guys were not normal. These guys lived in these costumes, and they were always in the makeup. And, because we were little kids, we just kind of imagined these things. Let's see, I have a pic that he threw out in the crowd and landed at my feet. That's Isaac. That's pretty cool. That's really cool. I actually had that happen once with Steve Vai. I saw him with Alcatraz, and nobody really knew who he was back then. And I was sitting on the second row, and he threw a pick out. And I remember seeing it, and I kind of landed on the ground somewhere, and I got down off my chair, and there it was. I got a Steve Vai pick up somewhere before anybody even knew who he was. It was kind of cool. Christian, great laugh, buddy. Yes. East Coaster, Gene claiming he sells him $20. Ack, there it is. Ack Curly, Deadeye. Thank you, Ack Curly. Let's see. Ace, Analog Daydreams. Ace had the coolest laugh too. Joseph Linnell, East, you're not funny. Let's see. Gas and Draco, he sucked. Gene Simmons might. Let's see. East Coaster, Keith Richards always wins. Peter Chris, not Curl. Oh yeah. Janetha Jabber. Don't you put that evil on Gene, Ricky Bobby. That's funny. And I know I don't know your I've actually talked to you so I do these one-on-ones with people. If you're ever interested, you can, on some of our videos, I'll have a link where you can go set up an appointment to actually do a Zoom call with me and kind of talk about the show and give me your input. And I don't know your screen name, but I do know your name. And it was a pleasure meeting with you. I see your picture right here and I know. Your face. Ace has the coolest solos. They were original. They weren't trying to be extremely technical, fast, or impressive. Just plain old swaggering rock solos that made you want to pick up and learn the bends. Thank you very much. That was Your Face. Billy Box, rest in peace. Spaceman, Lindy, not hundreds, hundreds of thousands. Yeah. East Coaster. She's mowing his lawn. That's too much. Your Face. Ace probably inspired more guitarists than any other player. Crazy impact on society. Funny guy too. And that's why I wanted to do this tonight, because so many of these people have these massive impacts that most people just don't appreciate. They don't realize the impact that these people had on the broader culture. And he won't get that kind of recognition in mainstream news. They might mention him, but it won't be anything like that. Let's see. Inspired many more. Danny Peters, Chaim Witz is busy watching Exorcist for the Sixth. By the way, that's Gene's name, if you didn't know. Watchman for you, Oy vey, Clip Culture, AI. Danny Peters, there will never be another reunion of the 4 original members now. That's the truth. Let's see. New York Groove made me love guitar. Yeah, and now that's another thing. When I first heard New York Groove, and this is the first time I ever heard the song, was on this album. But of course, that's a cover tune as well. It's not even really his song. But he did great. He did it. He kind of brought that thing to life. Let's see. Scottacaster 66. Yngwie made the guitar talk, whereas Ace made it sing. Great idea. Christian Haynes, great tune. Dead Eye, The Sun Will Not Rise Tomorrow. East Coaster, Mamba Jupa, rest in peace, Ace. Devastated, Danny Peters, Ace Frehley has joined Menudo for their final tour. Christian Haynes, thumbs up for Audiomover. Christian, hey, thank you so much. Christian is such a great part of this community. He's always got something cool to say. Danny Peters, Audiomover, is another loser with no life of his own. Danny, you are correct. I am a loser with no life. The fact that I'm sitting here right now and everybody else that works here is with their family, and I am not. You are correct. I will not argue with that. I am a loser with no life, but I do get to do this, and I do enjoy doing this. Let's see here. Isaac, imagine a band with Ozzy, Ace, Lemmy, and Neil. Interesting. Yeah. I hate Ralph. Remember, Ace is from planet Jendal. Dead Ace is not dead. He's only gone back to his home planet of Jendal. Bingo, exactly. That was what I was saying a little bit ago about when we were talking about some other people that had passed away. Hang on a second. Audiomover can paint the tone. That's great. Hard to explain how this hits. Just hope you and Gary can do some vids that include your Kiss memories. Yeah, we'll be doing, when Ozzy died, that was such a strange thing, because the day that Ozzy died, those of you that follow the channel know this story, but I'll share it with you in case you're curious. The day before Ozzy died, I made a video, and it was just kind of a thing where I was just asking this question: why is it, that so many people around the world know this guy that was a singer for Black Sabbath, and he's just become such a universally known name? And we released the video. It went live, believe it or not, right as the announcement came across that Ozzy had passed away. So obviously we couldn't have timed it. It just kind of happened on total, because we'd made the video. It was produced the day before. It was ready to go live, and it just went live. Well, anyway, we made a whole series of Ozzy videos and Black Sabbath videos that next week. And then that weekend, I thought, I want to do something a little more special. So I made a video that I produced. We had a lot more production, graphics. We set up the lights and made it really nice. And we put this thing out, and then, and I thought this will get a little bit of attention. A few people will watch this. We always get, a few thousand people watching most of our videos. And then all of a sudden, the videos went boom and just took off. And what had happened is Ozzy's son had put it on his Facebook page and on his Twitter. And so all of a sudden, our Aussie video just exploded. Jack. And by the way, I don't know why I wasn't thinking. It was David Bowie, obviously, that went to his home planet. But anyway, that Jack Osborne took our video, and then all of a sudden, it just went crazy. So we may have to do another produced video in honor of Ace, because he was such a big deal. So let's see here. East Coaster, let's see. Ace was such an inspiration to me. Was just listening to his song, Walking on the Moon. Let's see here. Ace, Sven Gattermeyer, thanks for live streaming this evening. All the comments here are such fitting tributes to Ace. I always enjoy your episodes, but this one is very much appreciated. Sven, thank you for being here. This is kind of an important thing for so many of us to just kind of, just experience this together, because we'll all remember the day this happened, because KISS was such a big deal to so many of us. Danny Peters, Joey Johnson, let's see here. Legendary career, God bless the KISS. Marcos Gaffredo, greetings from Brazil. We actually get a lot of people from Brazil commenting on this channel. A lot. I mean, I see them pop up frequently. Rest in peace, Ace, my first rock hero. Danny Peters, oh yeah. There's some of these things that I feel just a little questionable saying these things, but you can go read them. Try going to just the screen of yourself without the other screen with the album cover on it and try it then. Oh yeah. Man, there's so many comments still. I'm going to just see how many more I can get through here, and then a few other things. Let's see here. Stick bass. Ace produced one, if not the greatest guitar sounds, including his leads. Yeah. Obviously, of course, as usual, Red Rangers, rest in peace, Ace Frehley. Guitar Garage TV, Ace, the best. The message released by Gene and Paul is a disgrace. Effing robots. I hope they feel horrible about bad-mouthing the guy for the last 20 years. It is, you read those books, man. They slammed on these guys. I mean, especially Peter. Man, they laid into that guy all the time. You read those books. But they didn't have a lot of great things to say about Ace. But, the one thing that they did say, whether they meant it or not, they said frequently, is that the KISS would not exist if they hadn't existed. They brought whatever it is they brought to the band. They brought something special. Let's see here. Let's see. This one hurts just like Ozzy did. That's from Scott Grow. Thank you. Christian Haynes, you rock. Robert John. I think that's what RJ. Robert John Hadfield is me, in case you're wondering. G Razdaz Icon, rest in peace, space. Just gutted. Yeah. Steve Morris said it hurts like hell. Yes. G Razdaz. Yes, I agree. This one hurts. Google Lifetime. Paul. Yeah. Red Ranger hurts real bad. Casual KISS fan. Gene became my favorite member of the band once Ace left. I saw them at age 11 on the Dynasty Tour, December 3rd, 1979 in Amarillo, Texas. Rest in peace, Ace. What's funny? One of the things they succeeded with this band was the fact that everybody had their favorite. And it just, for me, it was Paul. I don't know why. I just was gravitated to that guy. His voice, his presence, there was something about him. But a lot of people, man, Ace was their guy. And that was kind of part of the mastery. The amazing thing about this band was they created these characters that and it was like the Beatles. You had your favorite Beatle. And that was kind of one of the goals. That was one of the things they were trying to accomplish. Shauna Mancy, found your channel tonight, AM, yet another kid who dressed as Ace for Halloween, got a guitar because of him, and wore his makeup on the tour in 1996. I still have the tour book and that you're showing. Sean, yeah, that... by the way, I'm glad you found our channel. I really appreciate that. And by the way, if you're not following this channel, we always, of course, appreciate it if you would follow the channel. You can click that button. We're hoping to get to 20,000 followers sometime before the end of the year, because we have a whole bunch of plans, a bunch of things we want to start doing once the new year starts. And having that number, hopefully we can get it before the end of the year. We really only started doing this just about a year ago, and we're now almost at 20,000 followers. But we're hoping that's going to help us get a few other things going. It's kind of a psychological thing having that 20,000 followers. So anyway, but we appreciate it if you're willing to follow the channel. Dress up as Ace, but yes, indeed. Marcos Gaffredo, I was a little disturbed when I saw that I have more followers on Instagram than Ace. He definitely didn't get all the credit he deserved. Yes. I mean, I think I made when we were looking at it the other day, what did he have like on his Facebook page? Although he has a lot of followers, he had like 16 reviews or something, which I thought was kind of hilarious. Let's see. B Echo Grande, like Ozzy, they didn't want to give up. Rock and roll on over. EO, this one hurts. Lindy, Ack. There's his Ack again. John Starr, start clean fit wellness. Yes, he will probably try to Oh, yeah. Clip culture, audience of more than 200. I actually haven't even looked to see how many people. I think we did pass 200 a little while ago, but now we're just slightly under 200. But we appreciate y'all. I know that everybody's got lives and things they got to do, but we appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. This is kind of us just. He was more important than he's going to get attention for, and this is just kind of our little way of just acknowledging that tonight together. Let's see here. Christopher Oliver 3. I saw many channels talking about Ace as I was looking for Audiomover because I knew that you are an authentic Kiss fan like us. Thank you for recognizing that. Look, man, I'm not afraid to. I was a kid. I loved him. I was one of those kids who would sit in the basement with the tennis racket and I would be Kiss. We've got a big stack of Kiss cards right there. We used to trade these things at lunch at school. We'd go outside and trade Kiss cards. Let's see if we got any Aces here while we're looking. There's Ace right there. Right there. Check that out. He was so cool. It was just, we love this stuff. Yeah, you can see that. But anyway, I was a Paul guy, but you keep flipping through here. There's another Ace. Check. Dude, I mean, come on. Look how awesome he was. Man, he was great. He was so great. Yes, indeed. I'm definitely a fan. Let's see here. Where was that? Yes. Take It Easy, Curly from Deadeye. Exactly. Let's see. That was a great interview with Tom Snyder. Christian says that. You're right. It was so much fun. It was so funny. Let's see. Dude, I just got here. He is my guitar idol. That's Chim Chonard. Thank you. JC, I'm a plumber. Yes, exactly. Deadeye. The Space Bear. Watchman for you, LOL. Let's see. I Hate Ralph. Check out the song Ace Frehley by Millen Cohen. I don't know what that is. Deadeye, I'm the plumber. That's so great. Self-explanatory, Lindy. Thank you. I think this is self-explanatory. That was so funny. He was great. Let's see. I Hate Ralph. Ace had many solos you could sing, hum along to. Yes. Ludlow Stills. Kiss was my first concert at Madison Square Garden. I was 15. Ace was the first guitar hero for a lot of us. Right. Exactly. I got Pippi for you to look. I'm not sure what that means. Let's see. Tom Snyder started by announcing Gene as the that's right, the bass player. God, that was funny. That was such a classic interview. He was so great. The Tomorrow Show he was a good interviewer too. Tom Snyder started by hello my fellow Kiss fans from DPC 374. Indeed, Scott Grow. I was born in '96, but Kiss was the first band I fell in love with. Thanks to my father, picked up guitar, and Kiss was the first artist I learned and still play it. So thank you, Ace Frehley. Rolling Stones, Ace, Fox on the Run is a great song. 2000 Man was a Rolling Stone song. Deadeye, yes, you're exactly right. It was on, I believe that one was on Her Satanic Majesty's Request. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. But that's also the song that had, is it called 10,000 Light Years from Home or something like that? Oh my gosh. Has that Mellotron in it? I love the Stones. That was killer. That was killer stuff. Let's see. The Stones version is trash. That's from K Metal 83. Eastern Coaster, take that gold open mic night. You take East Coast, take that gold to open mic night. You stink, by the way. Not sure if that's intended toward me, but I will take that. If it is intended toward me, I'm not afraid of being told that I stink, but it might be something else. I don't know. Let's see. The Stones suck compared to Kiss. Are you on drugs, Danny Peter? That's funny. Gene wrote Cold Gin, Shock Me Best, Strawberry. Yes, right. That's right. Gene wrote everything. All the songs. And then I think he wrote one that was called My Uncle's a Raft. You know, remember hearing about that? Let's see. Rest in peace. It Out crushes. Yes. Gyro Lamb. Peter had some great songs too on Kiss albums. Both guys. Man, there's so many comments on here. Would underutilize, especially Peter's voice. Man, you are not lying. You are not lying. Who was it that just read that? Gyro Lamb. Peter's voice was freaking amazing. He was a great singer, man. He was great. He was a great singer. He may have been. Sometimes I think he was the best singer in the band. He was so good. Some of that stuff, when they let him go, he was great. He was great, but he was different than everybody. Man, but he was good. I love Peter's voice. Let's see. Gene Simmons will find a way. Yeah, right, exactly. Watching for You. Ace's last single, 10,000 Volts, is his best song. It's actually a good tune. I remember when it came out. It was actually, hearing it was a pretty good tune. His home planet is Gentle. Yes, thank you. Fred Schneider. Kiss was my first concert with my parents in 1977 in Louisville, Kentucky. AC/DC opening act. Wow, with the fire and the lights. It is a memory that will always be with me. I am now 60 years old. Indeed. Let's see. Be Echo Grande. Well, the hole in the ground teleports to the black hole in space. That's what it is. Ian, To Hide Your Heart, cover by him, is the best version of that song. Joseph Lindell. Ace sings Cold Gin, Parasite. Parasite! Wow! Parasite, baby! Parasite! Oh, man. Sorry. Some people don't like when I sing. I used to be a professional singer. I'm not anymore, but people used to pay me. So people knock me when I sing on this channel. But I actually used to get paid to do it. I know maybe I suck now, but I actually used to be able to carry a tune. And I've sung in front of some, I mean, not huge crowds, but I've sung solo in front of, the most I ever sang in front of was 5,000 people. So I actually was good at one point in my life. So sometimes it comes over me and I can't stop myself and I start singing. Kiss Meets the Phantom, big B Echo Grande. Yes, Gyro Lamb. Ace designed the Kiss logo from it. Yeah, it's funny. Supposedly he designed it and then Paul takes credit for it. Like Ace did it and then Paul made some adjustments. Like, what adjustments did you make? I've never understood that story. Because Paul kind of likes to say his, but I've always understood Ace was the one that really had the idea. Ace wrote Strange Ways also. King of, that's from Styx Bass, Bass. King of Gogas. His riffs are etched in my brain, yes. Brian Gibber. Yes, Rock Soldiers, thank you. I Hate Ralph. Didn't Paul come up with the name Kiss and Ace made the logo? Also, I'm pretty sure Ace wrote a lot more songs than he sang and just had Gene and Paul sing. Exactly. That was what I was saying a little bit ago. He actually was a really, really good singer. Gyro Lamb, that solo and strutter is awesome. Yes, indeed. And it is an awesome song, man. What a great tune. I love that song. Rest in peace, Ace from Mez. Matt Barius has a tear face. Joseph Linnell, my personal favorite Ace solo is I'm in Need of Love. Damian Hetrick. Ace outplayed Paul Stanley in his own song. Hide Your Heart is an awesome rest in peace. Oh my gosh. We will not make it through all these. There are just too many comments. These are so good. Let's see here. And I'm sorry that we're not going to be able to get to them because there's so many, and everybody's got so many great things to say here. Home studio, Black, rest in peace, plumber. Rest in peace to the best plumber in the Bronx. That's Backstabbath. That's a great name, by the way. Got to meet Ace 16 months ago. It's bittersweet now. I'm glad that I got the opportunity. Space with Ace. He had a vault of Les Pauls. My jaw dropped to the floor. Being a guitarist, seeing so many in a private collection. Melbourne, Australia. Man, this just keeps going. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go down to the bottom. Elon should launch his ashes into space. I second that idea. Who can get a hold of Elon? Tell him that needs to happen. That definitely needs to happen. Ace is on Jendel. Ace wasn't the best guitarist, but always made me inspired and made me move. Ace saved me. Rest in peace. That's Sagagush. Scott Kovacs. Let's see what kind of crap comes out of Paul and Gene's mouth. Yeah. Rest in space. Ace. That's from Dragon Zuniga. Deadeye. There are multiple pics of him wearing the ring I gave him. Oh, really? Deadeye. There are multiple pics of him wearing the ring I gave him. He gave him a ring. I didn't see another comment about that. Maybe say something more about that. That's interesting. Everything he did was just beautiful. Listen to, that's Tim Chonard. Scott Kovacs, I have those Kiss cards, both sets. I have a ton of kids stuff from the 70s. Francis C.S.I. Frehley in 1987. White Lion opened for him. That's pretty interesting. White Lion opening for Ace Frehley. Yeah, we actually did a show on that White Lion. Gary loves White Lion. I was never Never loved them as much as, there it is. Tom V. Bodaki, I will pay you not to sing. Well, there is a way to do super chats, and I can just sing here until somebody super chats me. Yeah, I'm just kidding. We never ask for that stuff, but we do always appreciate it because sometimes people send them in, but we don't ever ask for that stuff. We may someday. We may do, because let me just tell you, we make a lot of KISS stuff, and I know a lot of people like the fact that we do, and we love KISS, but I do pay people to be here. We have a producer that I pay to do these shows when we're doing them, and so we don't make enough money off of the partner program from YouTube to actually really pay for any of this stuff. This largely is a labor of love for little old me. But we're hoping, we're going to have to sometime in 2026 figure out a way. That's partly why I want to get past 20,000 subscribers, because it'll give us an opportunity to find some people that maybe can, do some extra little sponsorships in the show. To see if we can because we want to bring more cool people on here. We have so many fun ideas of things we want to do with this channel, but it just takes resources and it takes money. And I own this production studio. You can't really see what's going on in here, but we've got a 17-foot cyc wall over there that's 13 feet deep and it goes up 14 feet. It's over there on the other side. I've got a whole set over there. If you see the Aussie video that I shot against that, over to my left, we've got a whole brick wall set over here. So this is actually, for those of you that don't realize it, this is a working production studio. I mean, we have clients come in here all the time. And actually, we've had some relatively famous people in this place, too. As a matter of fact, the guy, I can't think of his name. If you ever saw, what's the movie called? It Puts the Lotion in the Bucket. Dang it! I can't. Somebody's going to post it. Anyway, the guy that played that part was in here doing a voiceover about a year ago, because he'd been in a movie that Disney had produced, and they'd messed up some of his audio, and he lives down here in southern Utah somewhere. And so Disney contacted us and said, we need a place to do some voice work, and we do a lot of that stuff here. So we'll get some, like him. We get some we're a small, St. George is not a big city, but there's still some fairly well-known people. Marie Osmond, a lot of people these days wouldn't know, but a lot of people watching this channel would know who she is. She's been in here before. She recorded some commercials and did a thing for Betty White in here, and so we've actually had some really, really cool people in this place. I couldn't think of all of them right now, but this is a full production studio, and that's actually where I make my money. I do not make money off of this channel, but what we're hoping to do, just in case you're curious, is build the channel up enough so that we can scale that back a little bit and then turn this into our, hopefully a profit center, so we can produce more cool shows, because we really love doing it. And so we appreciate all of your support. So every one of you that follows the channel just kind of helps get us closer to that goal. So we really appreciate all of you that are following the channel. Everything you do is just beautiful. Listen to KISS cards. I remember those KISS cards, buying baseball cards and a stick of gum. That's right. These things smelled like pink gum. It's so funny. Deadeye, I saw him 3 more times on Trouble Walk in Baltimore, Norfolk, and Winston-Salem. Met him, got a pass personally signed. He liked a ring. I had a skull. Oh, okay. Skull and Army helmet I gave to him. So if you see him wearing a ring, Skull and an Army helmet, that's from this Deadeye. I Hate Her. Ralph, Hooligan is a great song indeed. Aaron Kahn, Ace designed the logo too, even though Paul takes credit for it now. Aaron, exactly. See that? I understand that somehow. Tim Chonard, 10,000 Volts, an awesome album to leave with. Thank you, Spaceman. Man, there's so many things here. I'm going to... Joseph Linnell, time for me to hit the pillow. Mr. Paul Ace Frehley, I want to say thank you. Probably never knew how much you were part of the generation. Kennedy Center honor recipient. God bless. Joseph, have a good night. Thank you for hanging out with us and appreciate your input. Tom Chenard, thank you for what you're doing in honor of Ace. It means a lot to all of us. Thank you for being here and for saying so. I appreciate you saying so. I always watch the Brimstone Gaming. I always watch the KISS episode with Tom Snyder. He was making jokes at every innuendo. Yeah, he was great. He was great. He's so funny. He was so great. Such a great personality. Mikoto, Ace is one of the great guitar players out there. Rest in power, Spaceman, indeed. Deadeye, again, Baltimore, Norfolk, Winston-Salem. He liked a ring I had, skull ring. Okay, same thing with that Army helmet. Hey, I'm looking for a 79 and 80 Kiss card. My mouth is getting dry here. So, so let's just take a quick look at some of these just while we're, jump off of those comments for a minute and take a look at some of these. We've got, we still have quite a few people watching, close to 200 that are on YouTube, and there's got to be more. I haven't even looked at our Facebook page, but I know we've got Facebook going too right now. My personal Facebook page, and looks like it's still streaming. I don't know how many people are actually paying attention to it there, but it looks like we're still streaming over there on Facebook. So let's take a look at some of these cards. There's another space. I love this. When he had this one, and it was that really intense silver, I love that. Let's see what other Kiss cards we have here that are ace. Aren't these, look at that, man. They were, dude, when you're a young guy and you see this, there was just something so unbelievably cool about it. And, it's funny because you break out these cards and you start remembering what it was like to be that, that kid and kind of the magic of all this stuff. And you look at these pictures and you listen to that music, and man, there was something so powerful about it, that would get us as little kids. It just spoke to us in some weird way. And, and then again, as we grow, so many of us then started playing music and we became musicians and learned how to play the guitar and did so much. And then here we are now. I'm 56. I know a lot of people watching this right now, you're in your 60s or in your late 40s or something like that. And I know most of the people that follow this channel are in that 45 to 65 range. Maybe it goes down to 40 actually, if I'm going to be fair. But we kind of know what the stats are for this channel. And we kind of all, now we've graduated into a later part of our lives. And now the nostalgia of it has this really kind of fascinating, bittersweet feeling to it. Remembering what that magic was like when we were discovering this stuff, and then looking at all of our life in between. Because I then had the opportunity to take on their final tour. I took my son, and it was such a cool thing now to be able to take him and kind of put the generations together. And of course, these guys weren't, in the band, which kind of sucked. And I was a Tommy Thayer fan, not with Kiss. I was a Tommy Thayer fan with Black and Blue. I was really into Black and Blue back in the 80s. But let's see if there's any other. I've got to have more Paul. Oh, there you go. Another great picture of Ace. Isn't that awesome? Let's see what other cards I've got here. And I wonder, I haven't heard from Gary. At least I haven't been looking at I wonder if Gary's paying attention to this right now. Look at that. Look at that. His Les Paul. And then he'd always do that kind of little pucker thing. Man, he was cool. I loved Ace. He was so awesome. And it's funny because even though I was a Paul guy when I was young, the older I've gotten, again, it's kind of like you go back to that Tom Snyder thing and you start appreciating Ace more than I did when I was a kid. And now these days, and I actually said this on one of our shows just a couple weeks ago. I even made that comment. I said, Ace was not, I loved all of them, but Paul was my guy. And then Ace became, as the older I've gotten, the more I've kind of learned to appreciate how awesome he was, how great his guitar playing was. And I want to believe, and I don't know this for sure, and maybe one of you know better than I do, because I know he was kind of in and out, like on Dynasty and some of these others. That guitar solo in I Was Made for Lovin' You, I want to believe he played that. And I don't know if he played it, but it sounds like something he would play. Is so good. I don't know what it is about that guitar solo. I think it lasts about 2 seconds, but man, it is just so tight and killer. Man, it's good. But even if he didn't play it, he played plenty of other amazing solos. But that was one of my, I love that solo. Here's the whole band kind of, looks like at the end. There's a little cool shot of Ace kind of right in between. Look at these, man. Look at these. Look how great this stuff was. Again, there was so much magic. There was so much magic to all this stuff when we were younger. It was so special. Here we go. Here's Ace down on his knees. And this is something we were talking about before. He would get down in this position and then he wouldn't be able to get back up, or he would kind of fall in that position and then the guys would go over and kind of play over the top of him. Man, look at this. These are so much fun. These are so much fun. There's the three of them. You know what? It was just so perfect. I know people bag on these guys. I don't understand why people hate them so much. Because they did have so many great songs. And the presentation of it, they understood that, I mean, just look at anybody that, when you look at rock and roll music just in general, Elvis is the king. He's one of maybe the greatest, right? I love Elvis. But go look at him on in 68, I think it was, his comeback show where he had the black leather and he's sitting on that little square, like 10 by 10 square with those other dudes. Dude, yes, he had a great voice, but man, the way he looked, it was a show. That black leather, the way he'd move, he was just great. And these guys understood that man, yes, you have to have good music, but you better have a show to go along with it. And because it really did make a difference. So let's see here. There's a bunch of Paul stuff. There's a great, great shot of Ace right there. With that Les Paul, man. He's so, again, such cool stuff. There's another group shot. Man, I haven't really studied these in a long time. Do you remember? Did you do this too? At lunchtime at school, you have your big, these things were all wrapped up in a rubber band. And then you'd sit and you'd trade cards, look at cards, talk about them. And then you'd talk about all the legends. There's another one. You talk about all the legends like, Gene, yeah, he had a cow tongue surgically attached to his real tongue. And then when he'd take razor blades and he'd cut and that's how he did the blood. It's so funny. We used to believe that stuff. I don't know if we ever believed it. We used to say it. That's a cool shot right there. That's a great one. Oh, we actually bought some. We did a show a while ago where we bought a new set or a newer set. Look at that one. That one's an oldie. But this is a newer set of cards that we bought just for. Here we go. Here's a picture of Ace with Alive rising on the charts. Kiss was encouraged by their label to appear larger than life. Anyway, there's a picture of Ace right there on the back and on the front with that cool Les Paul. This is a funny album because that's the second cover for Creatures of the Night. The first cover had Ace and anyway, but that's a kind of a funny one. I've got Creatures in here somewhere. Maybe I can find it real quick before we. There's another great shot of Ace. These are kind of different set of cards. Getting close to the end here. There's another one. Here's a great one to end on. Look at that one. As far as my cards go, we're not going to quite end the stream quite yet, but anyway, those are my Kiss cards. Can you believe how many of you still have your Kiss cards? Let's see what other people have said real quick. We'll grab a couple more comments and then we'll just see what else we want to just talk about real quick. Read a few more of these comments and then Deadeye. When I met Ace in 1990, saw him in Baltimore, drove back home to Norfolk, beat his bus to the Holiday Inn, greeted him as he got off his bus. He sat down and signed everything, and I bagged some 80 autographs. Whoa! 80 autographs from Ace? Wow. Sagagush. Great card indeed. Ron Stewart, haters hate, F haters. Kiss catalog speaks for itself. Great songs, and they lasted many decades on top. F haters. By the way, I don't know how much longer we're going to go with this. We'll go for a little bit. If you know other Kiss fans, invite them over here. Let's get a big group of people here because Ace deserves it. Get on your Facebook right now. Copy this link. Get on your Facebook page. Paste it in there. Let's get some more people here because Ace we know it. He's not going to get the attention that he deserves on the mainstream media right now. We're the ones doing this. So copy that URL and get people over here. Let's see here. I like the solo at the end of She on Alive. Yeah. What a great tune. The power's always in her. Oh my, what a great tune. Because they do the harmonies. Man, it's a great song. Let's see here. Met Ace when I was 14. This is B40. He was filming a video on beach for Do You Want My Love in Port Jefferson, Long Island. How interesting. Let's see, Operation Aloha. He was the real rock star of Kiss. It is kind of funny because he did have that. There was something about him that had that real rock star persona. Very kind of an interesting thing about him. Let's see here. Without Kiss, Ron Stewart, without Kiss, we wouldn't know Ace and have all the cool collectibles and great memories. Who cares whose idea this stuff was? God bless Kiss. Rest in peace, Ace. Well, who cares? Yeah, that's true. But we all kind of care. At least because when you're like me and Gary, and probably a lot of people watching this, there is just something about all the lore. You just like talking about it. Who cares? You're right. It doesn't. The beauty of it is none of it really matters, but it matters a lot at the same time because it mattered to us so much when we were younger. And so it is kind of fun just to talk about. Love Ace. Brimstone Gaming, when Snyder called Gene the bass, this player, and they said to Ace, the guitarist, and Ace said, "No, I play the trout." Made everyone laugh. Oh my gosh. Ace was he was so funny. He was so funny. Another favorite Ace line from the Tom Snyder interview when Gene was talking about meeting Paul, Gene invented telescopes. Okay, I'm going to try not to settle down just a little bit. So great. Let's see here. Need to Play I'm a 2000 Man would be a touching song. Yeah, it is. I remember the first time I heard it. My name is a number on a piece of plastic film. And again, to me, I thought that was an Ace song because it did sound like an Ace, a space thing. So you just assumed it. So it was a perfect song for him. It was a perfect tune. Let's see here. Analog Daydreams. This is so random, but the Detroit Rock City movie was so crucial to me. And it was one of the things that really got me into Kiss outside of growing up with the music. Yeah, it's funny. That movie was kind of a big deal. Scott Kovacs, hey, I'm looking for... Oh, you already read that one. Let's see here. Ace sold more Les Pauls than Slash plus Jimmy. That may be. Slash was pretty interesting because he walked in to the world in the 1980s where you had all this flash and everybody's playing Jacksons like that one right there. And he kind of brought in the Les Paul again. And then you had Jimmy Page, of course, playing the Les Paul. But man, Ace was the Les Paul dude. He had that thing that, the Les Paul was his thing. Okay, let's see. Ashtray Red always tickled me that Weezer name-checked Ace and Peter in their song In the Garage. I don't remember that. I'm not smart enough to know that. So I'll have to check that out when I'm done here. I remember hearing the Shock Me solo for the first time. It changed me, really. Ace sold more Les Paul. By the way, one of the things that's so cool about that tune is that bend. That slight bend where it just kind of goes slightly. He doesn't bend it all the way to the next note. It's just kind of like almost like a quarter tone. And it just has this kind of dirt. Oh my gosh, I love that way he does it. And the first time I ever heard that song was on Alive 2. And, then you hear the studio recording later and it's just, it's so spectacular. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. Tom Schoenard, every hard-ripping riff on the early songs absolutely came from the one and only Ace. Yeah. Scott Kovacs, Strange Ways. Yes, indeed. Split Ends 85. My son bought me tickets to see Ace last Christmas. The show was on May 2nd at the Starland Ballroom in Sayreville, New Jersey. That's awesome. So let's see here. Change Me. Yes. My favorite Kiss song is 100,000 Years from Kiss Alive. 100,000 years. Great tune. So much great stuff. So let's take just real quick, just for fun. I'm going to move these cards out of the way. Won't take the time to get them all organized. We'll have to do that later. But let's flip through some of these records just for fun since I got them out. And let's just talk about them for a few minutes, reminisce a little bit more, and then we'll all go nighty-night eventually here. Kind of wrap it up for the evening. And but again, I wanted to do this tonight. There was this part of me that's thinking, Gary's going to be at home and I'm going to be here by myself. Everybody's gone for the day, and we had a shoot this morning. So I get up. This is going to sound really crazy. I get up between 3:45 and 4 o'clock every morning, and so I've been up for a long time today. And this morning, not only do I get up early, go to the gym, work out, go through the whole thing. And then we had a shoot this morning, remote. So I was out doing that, got back, just running a bunch of other things. And then of course the news came across for this, and I was like, do I have time? And then I thought, yes, we have to do this. We have to do this tonight. For heaven's sake. I mean, dude, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. This band and this guy had such an impact on so many of us in these formative years. And he impacted a whole new generation of guitarists afterward. And we lost him today. This guy that has been, I mean, think about this. This guy has been a part of our lives for most of us as far back as we can actually remember. My first album was Rock and Roll Over. That's when I learned really who Kiss was. And, you know, you see him on the cover of that record. Here it is right here. And you remember that right there, man. And he's got that stuff coming out of his eyes. He's the only one on here that had that, his eyes, you know, shooting that stuff out. And I would sit here and stare at that record cover. I'm this little kid, I'm like, what, 8? And I just sit and stare at this and listen to this music. And then, you know, whether you were directly paying attention to him or it was kind of in the back of your mind, it was just always with you for the rest of your life. You know, here I am 56 years later. This is like almost 50 years since I first got this album when I was a kid. Because I probably got it in 77 or 78, you know, when I got it. But I know that's not the year it came out, but that's probably when I got it. I don't remember for sure. But the point is, this guy has been in our lives, was impacting us all the way back then. This person that's literally been a part of our lives for all this time, and he's gone. This band that had these 4 people that meant like everything to us. And one of them's gone now. And that's what I mean. This like matters. So when I was tired and I was thinking, I don't know, man, going live tonight, I thought, no, I have to. I have to. This is too important for those of us that experienced this, that knew what it was like, that lived through this, that had those moments as kids and then as teenagers, that had that impact on us, that made us want to play music, that we can still, all these decades later, I could put these albums on and I could sing along with them because of the impact they had on me, because I listened to them over and over and over. And then now to just, you know, this bittersweet recognition of seeing this man that's gone now and remembering the impact that he had. That we have to take a moment and just think about this and just soak it in tonight. So anyway, Rock and Roll Over. That was my first. And put it in notes. What was your first Kiss record? My second record. I lost in our last move from Denver. We moved the studio from Denver down to St. George. Most of my Kiss stuff got stolen. So I've had to rebuy a bunch of these things, and I didn't realize when I bought this that I got to cut out. But I think this one, Alive 2, was my second album. And I played this one. I actually liked this one better than Alive just because it was the one this was my first live album, and I listened to this over and over and over. One of the greatest rock star pictures ever in history is that picture of Gene right there. But man, look at Ace. There was, man, again, it was just so cool. And then here, the way he's holding his guitar, the lightning bolts, and then these little notes that they put in here. Dear Earthlings, the gravity on Earth isn't quite the same as it is on my planet, but I'm slowly getting used to it. I always wanted to play lead guitar and express myself visually to an audience. When I play guitar on stage, it's like making love. If you're good, you get off every time. Thanks for helping me get off. Love, Ace. Then I got this one, and again, this isn't the original one that I had, but I remember getting this when I was a young guy. And I had this master plan, and Ace's picture there is so cool. I had this master plan that I was going to take paper, I was going to take a pencil, sketch over these, and then I was going to erase the makeup, and then I was going to know what they looked like. And I'd be the one person in the world that knew what Kiss looked like. Let me move these out of the way. Then we had some interesting ones. This is one that doesn't get talked about a lot. Killers. Can you see it through the plastic? I guess it's okay to leave it in there. And the clothes that they put on this period were pretty weird. Ace still looked pretty cool though. And he had that big lightning bolt that kind of went down the side, and they had this thing actually had I think it had 4 original songs or new songs, and they were actually really good. This is one. This one's a little bit faded. I've got several copies of this. We put a video out today, and we talked about this album, where this is like nothing like this had ever existed before, really, where a band was not really a band at this point. They were like superheroes. And you remember seeing this picture as a kid, and you would just sit and stare at this thing. You know, look at these guys, this amazing thing. I always thought it was interesting how that finger right there looked like it was kind of bent up. I remember seeing that as a kid, like, what is that all about? And then Gene has those things on his knuckles, almost like the Wolverine, miniature Wolverine things. But this was look at these 4 guys. And this is, again, why this is so important. Because when we were kids, this had such an impact on us. This artwork, the imagery, and the music that went along with it. And Ace always had these he had those wide variety of costumes, and all of his costumes. Well, I shouldn't say that, because I think the costumes in the Dynasty era for all of them were a little weird. But he had those big like mirrors on his, but he made fun of it. He was very self-aware of how kind of a little bit ridiculous some of that stuff looked. I remember when I saw this one for the first time, and I was with my mom. We went to, I think it was Kmart maybe, and I didn't know. I was a kid. I didn't know a new album was coming out. I just, all of a sudden, I see this Kiss album. I'm like, oh my gosh! And I was a big Kiss fan, and so I think I may have talked her into buying it that day. And a lot of people bag on this album. I loved this album, man. I thought it was so great. But it was interesting again because since Ace had put out had started recording those songs, where we really saw him for the first time as a singer was on Love Gun, and then all of a sudden, solo album. Of course, he's all over that, his own solo album. But then he does 3 songs on here. Goes from doing no songs to 1 song to solo album to this. And let's see here. So, because he did Hard Times. There's 2000 Man, the one we've been talking about. And Hard Times is a great tune. And this, I loved this album. And as a kid, but I loved it. I love the version of I Was Made for Loving You. I do. I maybe I shouldn't admit it. I love it. I think it's great. This one, of course, was really the last time we would see him on a Kiss album. And he wasn't, I don't know how involved he really was on this album. Excuse me. But this was the last time we'd see him. And then, of course, they would re-record. You see, there was mostly Vinnie Vincent, I think, that played on maybe all of this. And then they would re-record the guitar lines and re-release the album later with Bruce Kulick. But this was the last time we'd see Ace on a Kiss album. Well, I mean, last time during the original phase of Kiss. And but I don't know that maybe somebody could correct me. Gary would know. But I'm not sure he played on it at all. But it was the last time that we would, and I remember when this came out, and it was kind of unfortunate because it came out when MTV was huge, and it seemed like they should have been big, you know? Like Kiss would have been tailor-made for MTV, which just, by the way, just ended. But they just weren't, man. They were like too late. They were not really ready for it. Okay, so we're just going to look at a few more of these things just for fun. So this one is always, I love this cover. I don't know why I love this cover so much, but it's so cool. And look at Ace there, man. I love the way he was standing there. He's the one that really looked like the way he's holding. Anyway, it's really cool. And then the story behind all the shoes is kind of funny too. And I actually remember the first time I saw this, and I was like, oh, they did a reverse. Anyway. There. Okay, a couple more records. Then we have, of course, Hotter Than Hell. Yeah, and then Ace, what a cool look. And then, man, one of the greatest album covers ever made, ever in history, right there. Love Gun. And look, again, they all looked so cool. And when you're a little kid, you know, and how old would I have been when I first saw this? Like 9, something like that. And you see this stuff, and then all the women down here, man, there's just something about that. You're like, I don't know what this is, but I want this. I like this, whatever this is. It's great. And, Gene, I mean, every one of them, it was just so great. It was so cool. It was so amazing. And again, we had to do this tonight. We had to stop for a moment and just talk about this. Because we all lived through this. We all experienced this. We knew what this was like. We felt it. We knew the music. We dreamed about this stuff. Like the one person said, he'd imagined that someday Ace would come to his house in full makeup and teach him how to play the guitar. We all get it. We can all relate to that. Let's take another quick look at some of your comments, and then we'll see where we go from there. Lindy, let's see. Not really. Don't forget the 2 Frehley's Comet albums and Trouble Walking. Yeah, for sure. And I think I only have one of the Frehley's Comet. I got the original one in the other room. I didn't grab it. Thomas Bailey, Lindy, let's see. Man, there's so many comments. God, there's so many comments. Let me see if I can get back somewhere where I can see them. Oh my gosh, there's so many. There's just too many to go through all of them, but I'm going to try to get to a bunch of them real quick. Let's see. I was recently mentioning to a Midnight Special live chat that all the original Kiss members are still alive. Yeah, which is now not the truth. Who loves Snowblind or Hard Times? Boom. Hard Times is a great tune. I think I just mentioned that one. Got that one already. Baltimore, what's your favorite? Great card. What's your favorite Ace solo? Man, I've told you what my favorite Ace solo was, but although I said I'm not sure if it was Ace that played it. But all of his solos were they were just perfect. They were perfect for the music. So one of the reasons I think that they liked having Bruce Kulick in the band, because Bruce kind of knew actually, maybe it's better to even say Tommy Thayer. Because Tommy Thayer, love him or hate him, he knew what his role was, to just play those Ace solos. And I don't know that he went off track very much with them. As a matter of fact, Tommy Thayer is the one that kind of got Ace back up to speed so they could do that tour. Let's see here. Solo at the End of She, B40, we already read that one. Thomas Bailey, rest in peace, Space Ace. I'm going to have to drink some cold gin to deal with this. Gene Boros, I had tickets to see him on November 2nd. In Tiffin. I was so looking forward to it. Miss you, Ace. Yeah, man. I had a similar experience with Buddy Rich. When I was a teenager, Buddy Rich was coming to play at a high school. Me and a friend of mine, we had a band, and we bought tickets, and 2 weeks before the show, he passed away. So we never got to see Buddy Rich. Let's see. Shocked Me First Time, Changed Me. I already read that one. Let's see. Hard Ripping Riffs. Tom Chenard, hell yeah, Strange Ways. MTL, BNS, Races, blah, 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 blah. Torpedo Girl. Rick Graham, 1876, yourself, 7th Cavalry, sorry. Love every KI. Ron Stewart, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Just meant it took the 4 guys. Gene was the brains, Paul was a rock star, Ace was a musician. I love them all is all I meant. Thank you for clarifying that, Ron. And yeah, the 4 of them. It's funny for those of you that have been in a band, you would be able to relate to this. There's something magical about certain. You get it for. I've been in several bands in my life, and the bands that there were just certain bands that you just got together and they just worked. It's a little bit like a relationship with a member of the opposite sex. You have certain people that just feel like home. And you can't explain it. What do you do with that, you know? And maybe there's problems and differences and issues, but they just feel right somehow. And bands are that way. Somehow you just get this, there's a formula. And you can't explain the formula, but the formula works. And that was this. It was a formula. Let's see here. You should Ace play lead guitar on 10,000 volts. Yes. You should hear Ace lead guitar, Nothing But a Good Time on Jamming with Friends by Bret Michaels. Oh, cool. I didn't know anything about that. Ricky Graham, love every Kiss song. Parasite. Parasite was such a great tune. Deadeye, number 1. I haven't felt like this since Lemmy died. Yeah, Lemmy, that was a big deal when Lemmy died. Haywood Udome, I'm almost 60 and crying like a 5-year-old, devastated. That's Haywood Udome. B40 Ace in that Dunkin' Donuts commercial was hilarious. Ashtray, yes, DJ Inferno, Kiss is my first concert in August of 1980, my first vinyl album, Unmasked. First band both my dad and I loved and brought my dad and I closer. Isn't that interesting? There was something about when we were kids, we wanted our parents to get it. And I wonder how often they really did or if they just kind of played along with it. But I remember hearing Billy Corgan talking about how he wanted to play Rush for his dad because he just wanted him to, like this thing, he just wanted him to understand it. Let's see here. Tom Chenard, all of them. Oh my gosh, what a huge loss, everyone. Cry, 694. Robert, you're so right. Such an awesome player and personality. Yeah, thank you. Lindy, 63 here. It's a huge deal. Yeah. Dr. Detroit. If you were a kid in the 70s, Kiss was the biggest band in your world. My first album was Destroyer. Yep, it's true. It's true. That's why we have to do this tonight. That's why you need to take this link and go share it with some people because we need people. We all need to talk about this. It was too important. It meant too much. Again, I don't know life without Kiss in it. My whole life, Ace Frehley's just kind of been there. Let's see here. Sure, I'll give you a P&L statement, LOL. That's funny. What a blessed life he had. I can't think of a better life, being a rock star and being idolized. All the Planet, Know the Spaceman. Thomas that was Clip Culture. Thomas Troch, rest in peace. Space Ace, been a fan since 78 Destroyers. The first one I had, been a fan forever, heartbreaking. Thanks for the podcast. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm just glad we were able to do this tonight. Keith Boline, 1976. I was 10 years old, and at summer camp, our counselor had one of those portable record players, and he had 2 records, Frampton Comes Alive and Kiss Alive. Yeah, those 2 came out pretty close to each other, and they were both very, very significant albums as far as for the band and the musicians. I've been obsessed ever since. Ash Williams, this is very sad. Yeah, I'm not feeling good this evening. I have not been feeling good for a while. This just kind of like punctuated it. Like I said, I've had some rough stuff happen in recent months, and I love the fact I've got this group of people here for my own therapy session. Then I get to experience all this with everybody. No, we've had death in my family. My daughter was in a car wreck a couple weeks ago, and I've had some other personal things going on that have been kind of icky. Just all kind of like piling on top of me. So this is a great outlet for me to be able to. So I appreciate you being my therapy session this evening. I grew up listening to Kiss on the radio. The one song that got played the most was probably I Was Made for Loving You. I love the song. Eddie Trunk in his show today sounded devastated. He basically said Ace passed without saying it. Yeah, so I don't know how many of you realize this, but Eddie Trunk signed Ace. That was like Eddie's first, when Eddie became an A&R guy, I think it was with Megaforce, the first person he signed was Ace for a solo career. So he kind of brought Ace back because Ace had left Kiss, and kind of Eddie helped bring him to the world because Eddie was a big Kiss fan. And then they just became buddies. You know, they were friends for all this time. So I feel bad for Ed, because Eddie Trunk, they were like really, really close. So yeah, I'm sure he was devastated. Rez Olution, my first Kiss record was Love Gun. Man, yeah. Great album. My first album was Alive. That's Sagagush. Sorry, I'm saying these wrong. Haywood You Dome. First Kiss record was older cousin's copy of Destroyer. There you go. Sounds like a lot of us came in kind of right around that time period, the Destroyer rock and roll over Love Gun period. The photos of Alive 2 are amazing. Yes, indeed. Clip culture, yes. Split Ends 85, my first album was Alive. A lot of people. That was it. 1975, Botsman GDL RIP, rest in peace, Russia, St. Peter. Oh, calling in from St. Petersburg in Russia. Thank you for being here. Man, it's so interesting. We have so many people from all over the planet that watch this channel. And man, and again, I just, guys, I mean this sincerely. I thank you. I really don't make any money off this channel. We hope to, that we'll get to that point that this will actually really start making some money, but we're not there. This is me just investing time and energy and money into this myself. I pay for the staff here and everything out of my own pocket. There's not a lot that comes in off of the partner program yet, although we are monetized, so we do make a little bit of money off of this stuff, but it doesn't cover anything, right? But I am so grateful. I am so grateful to you for taking the time to watch these videos, to experience this with us. I'm amazed at how many views some of our videos get. I mean, it's not like they break any records. I mean, the most videos we have is like 115,000. That's like our biggest video. But I mean, it's not unusual for us to get 10,000 on our videos. But I mean, we still get some that are in the hundreds. They kind of vary all over the place. But what I wanted to say was, I just am so grateful for all of you that allow me to do this, to give me somebody to talk to, that actually watch the videos and give me feedback. Those of you that have gotten on these phone calls with me and kind of give me feedback about the channel and what you like about it. I even appreciate all the the negative stuff, because some people will say things like, dude, you take too long to tell a story, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, I probably do. And it helps because we want to make this thing good. We want to make this channel something where all of us, like Gary puts it, this fraternity where we all kind of have a place that we all kind of get it together. And we go off in different directions. We push out in a little bit, but we kind of stay in this. We kind of know where our lane is. But I'm going to be 34. This is Aaron Kahn. We're going to do a few more of these and we'll wrap it up here in a little bit. But I want to get through these things. Aaron Kahn, I'm going to be 34 next week. My intro to Kiss was watching the Beyond the Makeup documentary. That's great. Ash Williams, I made a short for him. I love Ace. Kiss Alive was my first record. My uncle gave it to me when I got my first record player. Hey, Ash, I know a lot of channels don't like it. If you can post your link in the thing, do it. When people, I think it's frowned upon a lot of channels putting links to other people's videos. Put your link, come to our channel and put your links to your videos, please. This needs to be a place where people can do that. If you've got a link to your short, put it in here so other people can go see it. If that means people fall off our stream, whatever. That's the way I want this channel to be, where we actually are like a group of people that can do that stuff. Aaron Kahn, I was 10. Yeah. Anyone know Torpedo Girl? We've got Your Rock. That's from Tim Chouinard. Deadeye. I've always dreaded these days since I was 14, 15, knowing that someday they'll be gone. It's funny because I've thought about that a lot throughout my life. Someday. We've never had a 90-year-old rock star before, as they were getting older and older and realizing we might someday have a 90-year-old rock star. But then again, a lot of them are going to pass away before then, but we've just never experienced this before. Let's see, Aaron Kahn, and I was hooked. So Aaron Kahn was 10 and he was hooked. I Hate Ralph. Ace had the rock star look, the sound. He never took himself too seriously, but he took the music seriously. Bam! Thank you. He had this self-awareness about when he was on that Tom Snyder show, and you could see it. That was what was so great about it, is we got to experience this self-awareness. Like, this is like, you could see it, and like, it was a little bit ridiculous, and he knew it, but it was still fun, and he was still rocking. The self-awareness was great about him. Deadeye, someday. Someday. All these people are going to pass away. I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss his laughter. Rest in peace, Curly. You did good. That's Eric Demand. Curly, that's right. Ash Williams. Ace. Sagagush. I know what I'm going to dress up as in Halloween. Bam. Yes. Deadeye. Deadeye, I think these numbers mean you're like a top contributor on this channel, and which is great, man. I love that. I'm so grateful to all of you again. Thank you again for being here. Let's see here. Clip Culture, Two Sides of the Coin, Dark Light, Escape from the Island solo. There's a channel that's called Three Sides of the Coin that does a bunch of Kiss stuff. I bet they're doing something awesome tonight. I hope they are. And you know, if you're with us tonight, go watch their live stream later too. You know, let's take all this stuff in. There's so much great stuff. Let's see here. Nowhere to Run is great. Yes. Tim Schoenard, everything he did was magic. I know everything he did. So I'm guessing, Tim, you're a guitar player, because a lot of people just would learn his stuff, and he had these great licks. Ash Williams, I had Killers. I had the cassette. Killers was killer. I remember buying it thinking, what is this? And then it had, what are these songs? It had these like 4 songs, new tunes that I really liked. I thought they were excellent. It's kind of funny because these guys had throwaway tunes that were great, like Alive 2, that last side. Those are great songs, and they were like throwaways. They just threw on the back 4th side of a live. So weird, man. Okay, let's see here. Destroyer. So special album. Yeah, Michael Jeffries, rest in peace. HP Ace. Bunch of little things there. Hey, thank you for the super chat. Sagagush, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, man, thank you so much for this live event. I salute you and all the other KISS fans here for your respect. I'm a new subscriber. Thank you again. Rest in peace, Spaceman Frehley. Shock me. Hey, again, thank you for that. We don't ask for those things, but we really do appreciate it. Like I said, we're hoping that this channel will get to the point sometime in the not too distant future where it really pays for itself, and this kind of stuff. It actually helps financially, obviously, but it also sends a message that like people actually really like this stuff that we're doing, and that we should keep, really keep doubling down and making this stuff great. Keep going with this stuff. So thank you again for that. We really appreciate that. Let's see here. I'm going to go back. I'm going to catch as many of these as we can. Destroyer's great album. Dr. Stereo. How many of us dressed up as KISS character at least one Halloween? Yeah. Gary, the video I think we put out today, he talks about the fact that he was Ace a bunch of times. Yeah, we did a video today where we talked about albums that kind of had a Halloween theme, but the point was alter egos, and we talked about Destroyer. So I'll just plug that video if you haven't watched it yet. It's today's video, and it's kind of weird, the cover, the thumbnail. We're trying a bunch of things with our thumbnails too, but in the video we talk about Destroyer quite a bit. So if you're a KISS fan, you might just enjoy that video. Let's see here. Sagagush. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Ace Frehley is the embodiment of our innocence and youth. It's not just a person, but a time that will no longer exist. Yes. That's why we have to do this tonight. Because this guy was a part of our lives since we were kids. And had a lasting, even when he had his solo albums, we were buying that stuff because we were just kind of always into it, and we always knew who he was, and this was like one of our heroes, going all the way back. It's different than the heroes we discovered in the 80s when we were grown and teenagers. This is different than that. This is important. Embodiment of our innocence. That's right. Let's see here. It broke me hearing this tonight. As soon as I heard he was on life support, I knew it wouldn't be long before he was gone. Yeah, I had the same thought. It was so sad. It was Megaforce, which is all. That was Mr. Crazy John Presents. Thank you. Haywood, You Dome. It was Megaforce, which also the name of Todd Howarth's band. Thank you for clarifying that. Deadeye, dressed up as Ace in 1996, Gene 1997. Bam, exactly. Rick Graham, 1876, U.S. 7th Cavalry, Ace, G. Sagagush, watching this from the Middle East right now. Cool. Again, it's so crazy. It's so interesting, isn't it, that we have these people all over the world. And we still have a couple hundred people watching this. This is amazing that we have so many people on here. It is, because, I mean, how many people have I known in their life that have gone live and had like have their mom watch? So it's cool. Again, it just says how many of us this mattered to. So it's not a sign about our channel. It's a sign that how many people that Ace mattered to. It was a big deal, you know, that there's so many people that just jumped on here. Watching Philip B., we all want to know what Gene and Paul have to say. Well, we do know that they had a thing where they said he was always a part of the band and always will be a part of the foundation. But I'm sure they'll have more to say in the days and weeks coming up. I'm sure about that. Tom Chunard, we've got your Rock. Thomas Bailey, wish I still had my Kiss albums from childhood. Kiss Alive 2, Destroyer Dynasty. Yeah, like I said, mine got stolen, sadly, in our move from Denver to... I'll have to tell that story another time. It was kind of my stupidity that made them get lost, that made them be stolen. But Ace for Halloween, silver glitter in the eyes was worth every tear tonight for Ace. That's funny. Yeah. Let's see. Mr. Crazy John presents. They have spoke. So has Peter in the last couple of hours. Yes. I haven't seen what Peter said. Maybe I should look that up before we finish. I'm 51 from Melbourne, Australia. Unmasked was my first ever record. Still listen to it. Rest in peace, Ace. Rick Graham again from the 7th Cavalry. Stitches in finger. Sorry for typos. Oh, there you go. I assume that, I mean, there's typos everywhere. I kind of assume that not a lot of us spend the time to get it all dialed in just right. Thomas Bailey, I had all of their solo albums on Casablanca Records. MTL Bienes, Races, Torian, blah, 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 blah. I saw him in concert in Sacramento, Dark Light from Music from the Elder album. Yeah. Ron Stewart, it's our community. We are the best. We're in this all together. Kiss Army. Right. That's right. We all kind of get it. And that's an important thing. Detroit Rock City was the first Kiss song I ever heard. It was on a jukebox in the Utter Delight Ice Cream and Burgers in Athens. That's cool. The first time I ever heard that song was on the live album. Then I heard it later on Destroyer and you go, whoa. And I love the Destroyer recording. I think it's amazing. Let's see, Rocksmith, rest in peace, Spaceman, Thomas Bailey, born in 71, so I grew up with all the faces of Kiss on Master Revenge Tour with Faster Pussycat. How cool. Sweet Pablo, Texas, spring of 1976. I was in 3rd grade. Yeah, 76 would have been 2nd or somewhere in there. Same thing. Ryan, rest in peace, lost another friend. Haywood, you dome. Not to be negative, but it seems like each year it gets a little bit worse. Maybe it's just me. Maybe. Well, you know, all these people are getting older, and we see this, and then everybody gets a little, including us. Thomas Bailey, sorry to hear that you've had to go through so much. I'm going through knee replacement surgery. Dude, my stuff's been all emotional. I did not have to go through surgery. But I've had I had no physical things I've had to deal with. No, and maybe 50 years from now I'll tell all the stories that have happened over the last 6-7 months. It's been crazy stuff. Never imagined would happen, but it did. Joey Sasso, the world will never sound the same ever again. Can't believe he's not with us anymore. Thomas Bailey, recovery. Ashtray Red, isn't Keith Richards 137? LOL, yeah. Denise, rock in peace, rock soldier. AO, Vermont, I'm devastated. Thomas Bailey, loved that Tom Snyder show where he had Gene and Paul steaming at him. Hilarious. I love that too. I love the fact that they were mad. It's so great. It's so great. Denise at AO Vermont, me too. Jay Freeman, Peter Criss solo album and Kiss Meets the Phantom at age 7 got me hooked. Yeah. Susan Rednar, I'm devastated. Dr. Stereo, underrated as writer and player. Yeah, for sure. Dr. Stereo, just straight ahead rock and roll. Glenn, Andrew Walsh, a true legend. Sean Defoe, what a very sad loss. He'll be truly missed by his fans and bandmates. Greetings from Canada. Luis Alejandro, gracias por todo, amado abre especial, gracias. Thank you for the very special man, I think is what that says. My condolences for your loss and family, as you were talking about earlier, brother. I lost my father in June. Very devastating to hear about Ace's passing. I played drums because of Peter. Yeah. My condolences to you too. Death is such a weird thing to go through. It's a weird thing to watch it as a distance from this, and it's a weird thing to go through. My uncle, who, I don't know, I was really close to him, but kind of close to him, passed away a couple of months ago, and it happened right in the middle of a bunch of other really awful stuff that was going on. And I went to his funeral, and man, I get sometimes I get emotional about some of this stuff, you know, when you start looking at different things that are going on. And I went to, it was back in Denver, and, you know, I got there before the casket arrived. And I'm in the church, and they bring the casket in, and they kind of got it in this room, and I was one of the only people in there when they opened it up, and there's my uncle. And, you know, he was a pretty old man. He was in his 90s, and the makeup was a little, I don't know, it was a little rough on one side, but he looked great. He looked great. You know, you're dead. How good can you possibly look in that moment, right? But I'm sitting there, and I think a lot of you can probably relate to this because of the age that we are. And you realize that they're the generation right before us. They're the buffer. You know, here's death, here's the generation before us, and then here's us. And they're the buffer. And he's part of that buffer. And I luckily have both my parents still. They're both in their 80s. But, you know, they're in that buffer zone that once they're gone, then I'm next in line. And I'm sitting in there, man, and I go over, and I sit over on one side. They have chairs kind of in this like U shape, and I kind of go over because I didn't really want to talk to anybody. I'm just sitting there looking at him, and I'm thinking about, you know, I see my parents over there walking around, and some of my cousins walk in, and then, man, then two of my daughters come in, and then my grandkids. Whew. And you just sit there, and you're like, holy cow, you know, and you see the generations right there. And it's, man, you like feel very, very alone. And yet not alone. It was the weirdest feeling, man. I've never had it before. Because I've got these kids, these grandkids, and they're there, you know, experiencing this whole thing. And it's sometimes you have this, it's part of the beauty of all of us being together here tonight, is that sometimes it's that event that brings everybody back into the same room. It's having Ace pass away today that gets all of us, so to speak, in the same room together. And we remember. We remember this, what this meant to us. Because we don't think about Ace all day, every day. We don't. But it's moments like this where a bunch of us get together collectively and we remember what this was like and what this meant to us. How it felt. This person that's kind of been in the back of our mind through our entire lives. And you know, I never met him. I actually don't know that I ever, now that I think about it, I don't know if I ever even saw him in person because I never saw him in concert. First Kiss concert I went to was Lick It Up. So, you know, he was gone by then. But he was always, you know, I got my cards and I got the albums and the music and everything, and he was just always there, you know, and then you have these moments where these people pass on, and then we all gather. All the people that get it gather together. And I had that experience with my uncle where I'm in this room and it's like all of us in this terrible circumstance, yet we all came together. And had this moment of reflection where you realize really what's important in your life. It refocuses you. And the one with my uncle, it was one of those things that reset me like I've never had a reset in my life. And sometimes this is what it takes. Anyway, but that's what got us together tonight. And hey, let's just go through a few more of these. So let's see here. Boston, Massachusetts, be our favorite alien spaceman is Tom Chenard. Denise, shock me, awesome song. Jason Stone, cheers from Tasmania. Rest in peace, spaceman. Jeff McPeak, I'm here. Chris Dautsakis, very sad day here in Adelaide, Australia. Saw them in 1980. Ace was my guitar hero, crying like a baby, hard to believe, yeah. Sam W., this one hits hard for sure. Rest in peace, Ace. Glenn Andrew Walsh, I got to write songs for with Ace. Glenn, I don't know who you are. That's awesome. I'll have to look up your name. That's really cool. Got to write songs for and with Ace. Dr. Sterry, he was cocky and arrogant, but the nicest guy in the world when everybody wasn't. Family friendly. We try to keep this family friendly all over him. Rest in peace, Ace. Ashtray Red, I hope my mom doesn't watch me when I stream, LOL. My mom watches all these. It's partly why I keep it family friendly. Sean O'Mancy, it's funny to talk of innocence from the band that brought you. Take me and larger than life, and yet that's the perfect word. Thank you. It is funny. Like I remember Rock and Roll Over, the song Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. What? Like I had no idea what that meant. So funny. Vec in Your Heart 4, thanks Audiomover. Same thing, Peter was there by Ace when he passed. Oh, interesting. Anyway, you're welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Sweet Pablo, I came here immediately when I heard Ace died. Ace, this is the Vecrin Heart 4. Ace is an icon in a few ways. Ace's Kiss solo albums with his great image made me love Ace. Yeah, Robert Hampton, I used to live a few blocks away from where Ace grew up, and I knew his cousin Jimmy. Oh, interesting. Rest in peace. Jay Freeman, shout out loud. First Kiss song at age 7. I had Kiss reading cards too. Sad day, man. Did I all night vigil for Ace, go till 6 a.m. Nick Price, my thoughts and prayers go out to Ace's family, fans, and band members. May Ace forever rest in the arms of our loving Savior. Split Ends 85, I had to go to bed now. I have to be up at 4 a.m. Yeah, I do the same thing, work at 5. Thank you for doing this stream. I hope things get better moving forward for you. Hey, thank you. I'm not trying to be negative here. Just been a weird time for me. Sega Gwish, thank you for your opportunity. More together. Thank you for being here. Deadeye, I'm calling in sick to work tomorrow. Then Sega Gwish, yep. Chris Linder, you guys were the first I looked for the news. We have suffered a great loss. All our heroes passing is sad. Thank you for being here and joining us. I really appreciate it. Sega Wish, I think Ace is underrated. Yeah, Phosphorescent Scotsman, a world without Ace Frehley doesn't feel right at all. Bummer, bummer, bummer. Sega Wish, 100%. Derek Anderson, I've met Paul at book signing, but I never met Ace. Still, this is devastating news. I met Paul, the same thing. I have a great Paul story that I've told on this channel before. I'll have to tell it again sometime about that book, about book signing. I meant trading cards. Yeah, I figured, Jay. Vergenart 4, take Ace off Kiss Alive, and it's not so good. Bam! So true. Kelly Aaron, Kiss Meets a Phantom. I remember that in 1978. Man, that was... Dude, look, let's be honest about Kiss Meets the Phantom for just a moment. It was a terrible, terrible movie, and yet I wouldn't want it any other way. I am happy that it exists in the world. I am happy that that movie exists. It's great. It's great in its terribleness. Isn't it? Isn't it, though? I love the fact. I love it. I love it. It's so much better because it's so bad. It's great. Okay, I just bought all the trading cards. That's Sweet Pablo. Kevin Zavek. I know Ace fell last month and had been hospitalized, but I thought he'd gotten better. Does anyone know what happened? It took such a drastic turn for the worse. I don't know if we've heard anything yet. We're going to keep watching the news, and we'll probably be doing more. We'll be doing more Kiss videos for the next few days for sure, just because of this. Let's see, Kelly Aaron, we all wanted to hear what they sounded like with their voices, but they didn't really talk. It sounded strange. Ace, he squawked. Yeah, and Peter, they didn't even use his real voice. They used that one guy. When I heard Peter's voice, I was like, wait a minute, isn't he in like cartoons? Yep. Sagwish, thank you for sharing. Yes, you're welcome. You are welcome. For all of you that have said thank you, just blanket, you're welcome, and thank you. Thank you for being here. Haywood, you dome. I know that feeling, lost both parents and very few uncles and aunts left. Yeah. Galgulat, saw Kiss first time in 1977. Ace was on fire. I was in the front row. Ace threw me his towel at the end. Oh, cool. Sweet Pablo, those Kiss cards are so cool. Yeah. Rick Graham, 7th Cavalry again. Let's all shout it out loud with cold gin toast to the God of Thunder, Ace, at the end of this awesome show. Shout it out loud. I was talking to Gary about this 2 days ago. I was like, that is way better theme for that band than Rock and Roll All Night and Party Every Day, which is a good song, but I love Shout It Out Loud more. It's such a great song, man. It's such a great anthem. Kelly Aaron, yes, collective camaraderie in music. Yeah, by the way, that is what Gary wants to do with this channel. He's like, dude, we need t-shirts. We need this to be like, to feel like a fraternity. He's got it all planned out. We were sitting here after recording a few nights ago, and he's like standing over on the psych wall like, dude, we're going to do this. I got all these characters figured out. It was really funny. Anyway, we may do it, but that's kind of the idea, that we all kind of get this together. Denise, Ace was so much more when he moved on from Kiss. Sagagwish, we are true Kiss Army guys, yeah. Foster Hudson Scotsman, Ace laugh, yep. I met Ace, Gene, and Paul sat with me in the hotel lobby for an hour and a half, signed 80 autos. Gene and Paul, I got 2 signatures each and was pushed on. Dead eye, that's funny. Clip culture, so much courage to take care and keep it up, Robert. Dude, here, let me just be honest with you for just a minute. I'm pouring my heart out here, acting like woe is me. Dude, my life freaking kicks ass. You want to understand something? I want to make sure everybody knows this. I feel bad for myself for some things that have happened in the last 7 months, but I want to be brutally clear with everybody here. My life kicks ass. I have so many things going for me. I own this beautiful recording studio. I have this fun channel. I've got all of you amazing people that hang out here, that watch these videos, that communicate with me. I text some of you. I call people meeting, comments. I've got great kids. I've got great friends. I live in a wonderful place. I make a decent living. I mean, honestly, both of my parents are alive. I got 4 grandkids. My life kicks ass. Okay? I want to make sure that's clear, because I'm being, poor me. No, poor me. Do not feel bad for me ever. I have so many great things in my life. I've had a few things that knocked me on my heels during this year. But other than that, my life rocks. I'm so I am happy. I've got so many things going for me. Dude, I spent part of my life as a professional musician. How many people get to say that? I was the national spokesperson for a big reverse mortgage company for a while, replaced by Tom Selleck. If you got to be replaced by somebody, that's pretty good. But I've had so many amazing experiences in my life. I've had so many wonderful things. I've got great kids, great family. I'm sorry if I appreciate everybody saying I feel bad for it. Never feel bad for me. I'm a happy, everything's great for me. So anyway, but I just had to bellyache for a minute. But thank you. Let's see here. I've got Ace, blah, 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 hotel lobby. Ace was so effing cool in Kiss, his solos image, damn icon. Yeah, I saw him 2 years ago. What a great show. That's from Denise. Yes, Derek Anderson, life has a way of refocusing a person. We reach that age where we can recognize that. Thank you, Derek. I just should have said that. You said it. I just should have said, life has a way of refocusing a person, because I had experiences a couple of months ago that refocused me. And now I'm making some massive, massive changes in different parts of my life, and things are great. I should have just said that. Thank you, Derek. Tom Schoenard, my favorite aliens. Alf, I loved Alf. Darth Vader and Space Ace. Dude. Tim, that's funny. That's very funny. I love it. Anomaly is great. That's Vecchiner Heart 4. The Anonymous Guitar Lord Nook, rest in peace, Ace. Aaron Borg, Eddie Trunk posted on X that Ace had fallen twice. First time was not serious. Sometime before his tour dates were canceled, he fell a second time and hit his head and went into the hospital again. Hey, that happens. I mean, there are people you fall down in the shower and it's over. I mean, something breaks, something goes wrong, and then for whatever reason, that's the end of it. And it does happen. Anonymous Guitar Lord, I'm so sad. Yes, indeed. This Verkenhard, I'm saying your name, they're saying it wrong, I'm sure. That acoustic intro and Genghis Khan Anomaly album is so good. Mad Dog Mentors. This is Mark Mad Dog from the band The Mentors, and I'm truly heartbroken and devastated. My childhood hero is gone. I've been a Kiss fan since 1975, 5 years old. Thank you for checking in, Mad Dog Mentors. Sweet Pablo, I just realized I coincidentally was wearing my Ace Frehley t-shirt today. Ah, cool. Freaking Hard 4, Haunting. Sorry, I posted a lot. Hey, post as much as you want to post. Go on any of our videos. I love... and I respond to as many as I can. We get thousands of comments and I can't, but I do read almost everything people write. Sometimes it takes me a couple months, but I get to it. It's probably, some of you have probably noticed that all of a sudden you get some message like Audiomover responded. I was like, I posted that 6 months ago. Yes, I know you did. And we're finally getting to it. But the nice thing about all this stuff we talk about is most of it doesn't matter because it's all stuff that happened 50 years ago anyway. Freddie Lopez, rest in peace to the real Space Ace. Yes, I love Frehley's comment. I met him and saw him in Brooklyn, New York at L'Amour's Club. Rest in peace. I bet Gary would know what that is. I've heard of it. April, rest in peace. Sam W., brother, you don't ever have to apologize for having emotions. We're all human beings. I felt alone as well at my father's funeral. My wife and I were not in a good place, and I felt very alone. Yeah. That's, okay, thank you. It just, certain things at this point in my life are right at the surface. And it's really, and it's somehow, it just takes just the wrong thing and it pushes it. Let's see here. Tom Chenard, another top 3 aliens. Yes! Mork, E.T., and Ace Frehley Spaceman. These are great. I love this. Dude, part of the thing that makes this channel so much fun is really the comment sections. People are hysterical and brilliant. I love this stuff. Deadeye, rest in peace and destroy. Derek Anderson, a lot of times it's a blood clot. Yeah, it happens. Sometimes a blood clot will break loose after a fall and stroke, heart attack. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong. Sagagush, gonna watch Detroit Rock City soon. Smart. Sean O'Mancy, I visited Reykjavik, Iceland a couple of times, and there was, I kid you not, there's a restaurant downtown that has Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park poster. No kidding. How cool. I don't know how we get away with this from a copyright thing, because you'll notice one of the things we don't do on this channel is play music, and it's just because I maybe we will someday, but just because I just don't want to mess with any of that stuff. I own a business here called Audiomover. By the way, I'll plug it real quick, where we do audio and convert old audio and videotapes. If you ever need that done, audiomover.com. That's actually where the name of this whole podcast came from. It's an Audiomover digitizing studio. But we have to be very careful about copyright stuff. So, because sometimes people send in tapes and things that are copyright, we can't do it legally. So we just don't. Sometimes we send things back to people. And anyway, so I just, and I was a professional musician. I've made money. Look, again, why my life is so blessed. I wrote songs for a couple of movies back in the 90s, and I made money off of that. I mean, how many people get to do that? I've had so many wonderful experiences in my life. And who was in that movie? Now I can't think of the name. Brooke Langton, who I kind of became friends with for a little while. She was, oh my gosh, I can't think. The girl that's the wife in Modern Family. She actually, they kind of used to come see our band play, and she kissed me once, weirdly. My little claim to fame as far as Hollywood. Was it Julie Bowen? That was her name. Danny Masterson, who's now I think in jail, went to his. He was in that movie too. We were in a movie called Extreme, and I actually sold some songs to that movie, and I was in the movie. And and it was on right after the Super Bowl in 1995. If you watched the Super Bowl in 1995 and watched the movie right after it, I was in it. Had 2 of my songs in it, and I had other songs in another movie with. Anyway, I've had a great life. I have so few things to complain about, man. Anyway, I have a great life. So wonderful. But anyway, I don't know why I just brought that up. But let's see here. Deadeye, yeah, I was 11. Rest in peace and destroy. Shout out loud. I wanted them to release LOL. Wyndham Crest. When did he pass away? It was just a few hours ago, from what I understand. Yeah, and once they said that he had. Once they had said that he had a brain bleed and was unconscious or whatever, I was like, oh my gosh, this is not good. And they're saying that they'd be taking him off life support. I thought, okay, well, this is gonna happen. And it's so unfortunate. Again, it's why we had to do this tonight. We had to. And I wasn't going to, like I said, I was thinking, man, I'm so tired. And then I thought, no. We have to come together tonight and talk about this because this mattered to us. This guy mattered to us. Wyndham Crest, when did he pass? Yeah, Kiss Me's Phantom was done by Hanna-Barbera. Yeah, and that's partly why they ended up using that guy's voice, because it was like from a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Your 12 Hanna-Barbera is awesome, so sad. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying, copyright. Man, my gosh. So, the weave, the big circle. We have to figure out the copyright thing so that we can do a watch party for Kiss Meets the Phantom. Mystery Science Theater 3000 style. Got to figure that out. Let's see here. Today, dude, mad respect for reading all the comments, Audiomover. I'm trying to get to all of them because, you know what? I appreciate what you guys do. You know, I mean, if this channel ever becomes something like a real job, it'll be not because of me, it'll be because of you. So I really try to read these things, man. And also it's fun and I respect it. And I've actually had the opportunity to meet a lot of you, like virtually, because you sign up for the meetings that I have. And by the way, on a lot of the videos, there's a link. You can go sign up. I do these Zoom meetings with individuals. If you ever want to do it, it doesn't cost anything. I've had a couple of people like, how much does this cost? It doesn't cost anything. I just want to talk. I want you to tell me more about the channel, what you like, what we need to be doing, because I want this channel to actually make money and be something awesome for everybody. Let's see here. Wyndham Crest tonight. Passed away today. Lee, thanks. Very sad. That's Wyndham Crest. Robert K. Denise Lee. Me too. Vac in her heart. Dude, well, we know it's all good. We're all mourning. Yeah. John Nelson, dead at 74. Ace Frehley is plugging in his great high voltage. Les Gibson, 120 decibels, electric guitar in the sky. Yeah, weren't they? They were like known for being 120 decibels when they'd play. Wyndham Crest, Robert and Denise, thank you. Denise, Wyndham Crest is crushing. I had hope. Dead Eye. Back in our heart. 4, I had a 10-inch custom vinyl made with Rip and Destroy, King of Nighttime World. That was a great song. I love King of the Nighttime World. I love that song, man. King of the Nighttime World, and you're my headlight queen. Come live your secret. Dude, great tune. Rock and Roll Over with spoken audio lines from the movie. Dinosaur Kiss rocks. Yeah, Verkin Heart. Well, I don't know if I'll make it to heaven. Just open the gates of hell. A little below the Angels Anomaly album. Ace, it's great. Tim Chouinard, Gene's brother was an only child. Oh, that's right. Gene's brother was an only child. So funny. Jim Smith. Okay, how many more do we have? Okay, we're gonna get through these. I want you all to hear your stuff. Hit me harder, the Aussies passing. Hit me harder, the Aussies than Aussies passing. I think he was saying the ultimate American rock star. Yeah. Yes. Because Ace is his hometown hero for a lot of people. I mean, hometown from the United States. Gary, of course, is from New York. 7th Cavalry again. Cavalry, God, I keep saying that. Our new kick-ass sergeant for the Kiss Army show. Best show I've seen tonight for Ace. Just found it tonight. We'll be here every night. Thanks a lot for all A+. I'm not... Kiss Sergeant for the Kiss Army show. I don't know if you're talking about if you like this show or what, but anyway, but thanks for being here again from the 7th Cavalry. Wyndham Crest, Denise, I'm just learning what happened. Yeah, it's sad news, big loss. Denise, I don't usually plan but Ace shirt is out for tomorrow night. Good move. Kale, yes. Deadeye, upload it. Tim Chouinard, who knows that quoted reference? I think the one we did just a minute ago. Gene's brother. Yeah, Gene's brother is the only child. That's from Phantom of the Park. Because that's when they're sitting in those big chairs, I think. And he goes, Gene's brother's an only child. He does how he says, it's so funny. His voice is so great. Upload it. Who knows quoted reference? By the way, if you have Kiss shirts, I don't know if you know this, but if you have mobile YouTube, there's a community section on the Audiomover YouTube channel. You can go post pictures. If you got an Ace shirt or something Ace related, go post it now. We post things on that, but there's a community section for the channel and people post things. Go use it. That's the whole idea. We want this channel to be like a community. Go use it. Post pictures. Treat it like a Facebook page because you know that all the people that get this are coming to this channel and they'll see it. Let's see. The music will always be there. That's Foster and the Scotsman. John Nelson, FM Classic Rock Radio, hasn't announced a news tribute to Ace Frame or anything. That's why we had to do this tonight, because he wasn't going to get the respect that we all know, that we all think he needs. Wyndham Crest legend, yes. Denise agreed. Tom Chenard, Devereaux, yes, because that's right. He's a Phantom of the Park bad guy. What was his first name? Something Devereaux. I can't think of it now. Somebody will put it down in the comments. John Nelson, FM Classic Rock hasn't announced news. Yes. Who knows what I'm saying? Devereaux. I know Devereaux. I know that reference totally. John Nelson, FM Classic Rock Radio hasn't announced news. Adam Beck, amen, brother. Respect to you. I'm impressed again. Thank you very much. Michael Curtis, that's cool that somebody, oh my gosh, we're almost to the end. That's cool that somebody mentioned Mork from Ork. I just recently found a bunch of Kiss stuff plus my old Mork from Ork suspenders. You had Mork from Ork suspenders? Weren't those the ones that look like a rainbow? Excuse me, isn't that right? Didn't those have like the colored, and then everybody started wearing them at school. I swear that's true. I think that's right. Okay. LM Jordan, greetings from Sao Paulo, Missouri. Yeah, we have Jordan, LM Jordan, maybe you comment a bunch on these things because I know we get from somebody from Sao Paulo a lot. My first vinyl was Love Gun, where I was 7 years old. I heard Shock Me, the rest is history. Thanks, Ace, for being the coolest star on the rock. If I can afford, dude, I can tell you Kiss played surpassed 120 decibels. They were louder than hell, yes. My first post was Alf, Darth Vader Spaceman, yes. No Space Ace, Texas Chicano. Denise, that hits harder than Ozzy for me. I think for a lot of people that's true. Francis Rose, Rush will remember, Canada loves you. Texas Chicano, this really sucks. Ack, that's Ack, exactly. Tom Beck, so family friendly, man. He was the GOAT. Never got the chance to see him. Smack my head. Me too, same thing. Hell yeah, we have the shirts, that's Denise. Tom Schoenard, Ace is traveling through all the galaxies now. He's always said it. Yeah. That's right. Texas Chicano, I saw him in concert one time, October 79, Dynasty Tour, rest in peace, Ace. I didn't go to that tour. I remember when they came to town, though. It was all over the news. Saw him in concert one time, let's see here, Rick Graham, 1876. He's back from the Calvary. Yes, meaning your show, LOL. What a nice, fun, respectful guy you are. That's the key to a successful show. All you're doing, blending with us all. It's Calvary. I know, I keep saying Calvary. Anyway, Rick, thank you very much. I really sincerely appreciate that. I am a lover of not just Kiss, but all this time period, the 70s, 80s, 90s, the music, and it's kind of why we do this channel. We put this together a year ago today. We had like 1,000 subscribers, and now we're pushing 20,000. So we're growing, and I hope that we bring the love and respect in a way that you all will be able to relate to. Because this stuff, again, why we're doing this right now is because it matters to us. So thank you for saying so. I really appreciate that. A few more here. He's visiting General right now. Yep. Abner Devereaux. That's right. That was Haywood Udome. Abner Devereaux. My goodness. Dude, what a great reference. So awesome. I love it. Vecchiner, Heart, 4 Aces solos in Kiss are so damn good. Melodic, rhythmic, catchy, so good almost always. That's why Ace's favorite. RD 410 Logan, rest in peace, Ace. Francis Rose, Annika must be in rehearsals as we speak. Texas Chicano, Ace influenced countless guitarists from 1980 until now. You're darn right he did. Vecchiner Heart 4 Creatures show, unbelievably loud. My ears rang for 2 full days. Yeah, I believe it. I would love that. William Selmy, I'm glad to know I'm not alone in feeling this one hits harder than Ozzy. We're losing icons, right? Vecchiner Heart 4 Dynasty show was loud too. Only Van Halen were close to them. I'm going to real quick see if I can find what Peter said, because I think that's kind of important. And then let's just check that out real quick. See see if Peter has a comment on this. And again, thank you so much, everybody, for kind of hanging with us tonight. I think all of us, it's so, again, it's such an important thing for all of us to have a place to come together when you have a death, when you experience something like this. Peter Chris, my comment, Ace death. Let's see if there's anything that comes up. So, because somebody earlier said, okay, with a broken heart and deep, deep sadness, my brother Ace Frehley has passed away. He died peacefully with his family around him. My wife and I were with him to the end as well. Okay, there you go. And that you can find that it looks like they actually have something. Loudwire is a great channel. If you don't ever, actually, yeah, that too, but it's a great website. If you don't ever use it, it's a great thing. So here it is. I love you, my brother. My love and prayers go out to Jeanette, Monique, Charlie, and Nancy, and all of Ace's extended family, bandmates, fans, and friends. May the Lord comfort you. Man, it keeps moving. At this difficult time, as a founding member of the rock group Kiss and Ace's solo career, Ace influenced and touched hearts of millions of people. His legacy will live on in the music industry and in the hearts of the Kiss Army. At this time, let's see here, I ask all of you to please be respectful to Ace's family and allow them to grieve privately. To the Kiss Army and Ace's rock soldiers, my heart is with you all. Broken, God bless. Peter Criss. Anyway, that was one of the other things we wanted to see. And then Gene's comment, our hearts are broken, Ace has passed on, no one can touch Ace's legacy. Ain't that the truth? I know he loved his fans. He told me many times. Sadder still, Ace didn't live long enough to be honored at the Kenny Center Honors Award in December. That is, it was funny when I called my mom earlier and told her, I said, that is really sad. Because to see them together, that there, especially in an honor like that, that was one of the first things I thought. Ace was the eternal rock soldier. Long may his legacy live on. And that's the truth. Let's catch a few more of these comments because there's been a ton more come in just in the last few minutes. Let's see here. Thank you. So this is Freddie Lopez. Thank you for spending all this time with all of us who are mourning Ace Frehley. Veckenhart, for respect. And again, hey, thank you. Really, I mean it. This is important to all of us. So I know it's bedtime for a lot of people. So we still have a lot of people watching, but I know people are kind of dropping off now because it's getting late. So, but I appreciate again, Rick Graham, you're very welcome, and thank you for tonight. Brings smiles to a sad night, and the USA needs more like us here tonight. Yeah, that's true. Lindy, this is good therapy. Thank you. LM Jordan, pretty sure I'm going on a Kiss binge this weekend. Rest in power, Spaceman. Yep. I think a lot of us are going to be busting out the Kiss stuff. Veckenhart 4. I'm saying that right. I'm so sorry. Icon, and he spaces out ICON. Red Skywalker ND. And then Veckenhart 4. Sounds like Gene just said, Tommy sure ain't Ace. Red Skywalker LOL. DMC 22, my first Guitar Hero. And I love Tommy Thayer. I was a Black and Blue fan back in the 80s. I still love those first two Black and Blue albums. The first one that had Hold On to 18, and the second one that had this that was called Without Love. Way more poppy, but I loved both those albums. So I love Tommy Thayer because that was kind of his band, him and Jamie St. James. But then I think the next one was Nasty Nasty, and I think Gene produced it, and I just didn't do much for me. But then that was how Tommy Thayer kind of got involved with Gene, and then ended up being kind of Gene's like special helper, sidekick, guy. And then he ended up putting on the Spaceman costume at some point, and I don't know. I didn't really enjoy any of that stuff. It just wasn't the same. Ace was just a really uniquely special dude. And it's a sad thing. And again, I as we get close to wrapping this up, because we'll need to do that here pretty soon. Again, we had to do this tonight because this matters. When you look back at the trajectory of so many of our lives, this band meant so much to us. And maybe we got into it because of the look. Maybe it was the music. But it led to so many other things. We got the trading cards and the lunchbox and the belt buckle and all these other things. And it just kind of became... And the posters, oh my goodness, posters. And it all just... It just became so much a part of like who we were and who we are. And it impacted us in a way that you can barely explain to somebody else. You can't. People that aren't Kiss fans just can't get it. But it became part of like everything everything during those years when you're forming and you're a kid and you're in elementary school or your early junior high years, and you just, there's just this thing, man, and it just becomes like, it gets ingrained in you. It becomes part of you, and it's these four guys. And even when you kind of graduated from Kiss and moved on to Van Halen and Iron Maiden and other stuff, they were always kind of there. You're always kind of watching. And then they get back together in the 90s. And then everybody remembers just how important this was. And then they keep going. And they were just always there, you know? And because they'd been ingrained in us as little kids in many cases, or teenagers, for me when I was a kid, I know a lot of us, that's true, that their lives and their personas and their names and their music resonated with you for decades and decades. And then one day, you're scrolling through your news feed and all of a sudden it says, Ace is on life support. And you just have to stop for a second and go, this matters. This matters to me. This guy that in some ways like imprinted himself on me when I was a little kid. So I have to stop for a minute and just soak that in and appreciate him and them and this thing that they did that impacted so many of us. And be grateful that we had that. That when we were kids, and as we got older, there was this thing, this music, this idea, this group of people, this fan base, whatever, that we had that we could, I don't know, turn to. That we knew we were part of something that was bigger. But maybe more than that, be grateful that we had this thing that set us on a course. And I've talked about this many times, that I don't know that I would have found Van Halen and Iron Maiden and so many of the other things I did if it wasn't for this, that got me started in that made me learn to love music. And the pageantry and the costumes and the excitement and the joy that comes from all of it. So as we kind of mourn this and soak all this in, I think it's important for us to just also be grateful that we had this, that this has been a part of our lives as far back as we can remember. It's really an amazing thing to have this. So we'll read a couple more of these because we had a whole bunch more, and then we'll probably wrap this up here pretty soon. He says no worries because I keep saying his name wrong. Red Skywalker, hey Freddie, your fave has passed. Ace was turned up in your face with talent from outer space. Dinosaur, what do you think of Peter Criss? We just read his thing. I thought that was very nice that he put that. Freaking heart, right? Ace was Ace. He never was a spaceman to me. Kids made my adolescence interesting, more better. That's a Vaken Heart 4. Vaken Heart 4. Red Skywalker, original lineup was best. Yeah, of course. They had the dynasty of glory at the time, ruled radio stations, jukeboxes for dimes in places you dine like Waffle House. LOL, that's great. Thunderfoot Power, my first Kiss show was 76 Destroyer in Detroit. That's cool, you got to do that. Tom Chownard, rest in peace and destroy. William Selmy, those of you that listen to Eddie Trunk podcast, this is a brutal week, yeah. I haven't listened in, but I need to, because I know, like I said earlier, I know he's got a history with that. Williams, Eddie Trunk lost his producer. A lot of the show is dedicated to it the other day on his XM podcast. Now this, interesting. Jake Boyd, Joe Mama, very shocking, really one of those larger-than-life rock stars. Yes. Mike Blakesley, no way. William Selmy, he is the one that got Megaforce to take a chance on Ace in 86 after Kiss got him signed. Yeah, exactly. I think I mentioned that earlier. Exactly. Red Skywalker, Eddie Trunk said one time that Van Halen were never good live. Oh, yes, they were at times, but real fans know this. I saw Van Halen with David Lee Roth one time, and it was so-so. It was great because it was Van Halen, but they didn't seem like they were too excited to be there, honestly, but whatever. It's a different story. Why Ace first? Why? That's interesting. Mike Blakely, Red Skywalker question and don't go there, LOL. Yeah. Williams tell me, I think the point he's making isn't that Van Halen isn't good live because I saw him earlier. It's that Roth isn't the best singer alive. That's true. Williams tell me, Michael Anthony is like his best friend. I don't think he'd trash them, LOL. Yeah. Ace Larson, Ace's band should keep playing with a replacement for Ace to keep the legacy. That's an interesting thing. Some sort of an Ace tribute almost. Let's see here. Okay, trying to get through these. Hey Would You Dome, Kiss was the entry band for millions of us metalheads. That's right. And I said it before, but we kind of graduated. We were in Kiss, and we graduated to these other things. So you're exactly right about that. William Selmy, if they did that, it would have to be Bruce Kulick, but I don't think I would. I like the sound of that. Terry M, rest in peace, Ace Frehley. William Selmy, not Vinny Vincent. Yeah. Lindy, Kiss, you had to be there in the day to understand the magic and the mystery. Terry M, at this point, anything Gene or Paul say is absolutely irrelevant. That's kind of funny. This is great. Tom Schoenhardt, the evil robot Kiss sang Rip and Destroy instead of Hotter Than Hell. The evil robot Kiss. That movie is so awesome. William Selmy, his producer, died the exact same time brain tumor Neil Peart did. Okay. Talked to Ace once on Eddie Trunk show years ago, fan since 76. That's Jeffrey Kyle Jones. John, I'm Johnny from Maine. I'm in tears. Johnny, thank you for chiming in. Vic Rinhart 4. Hey, Would You Dome? Yes, great point. Red Skywalker, in the last days, Dave was horrible except on the downtown sessions and sometimes from days of old, but E.T. was talking about the whole band wasn't that good. It's not his favorite band besides PF. It was mine. Yeah, I saw Van Halen on that 1984 tour, and they acted like they were phoning it in. Eddie actually looked like he was tired and wasn't even interested in being there. It was kind of strange, but whatever. John, Ace was one of the best entertainers. That's true. He was a great entertainer. Paul, 1980 World Invasion Tour, Van Halen Pit, Albuquerque. Oh, cool. 1980. Yeah. Rick Graham, 1876, 7th Cavalry. Again, calling Dr. Love and Hard Luck Woman. Safe travels, Mr. Ace. Good night, all. Kiss Army. Thank you for being here, Rick. Thank you again for being here with us. Tom Chunard, just want to laugh a little in honor of Ace. He's for sure laughing and loving this. Yeah. Front Porch Trader, Van Halen was great live after Sammy Hagar joined. That's what a lot of people say. Red Skywalker, Ace was real and blessed beyond the stars. May he rest while the string players in heaven welcome the dude home. Yeah. John, he was one of my heroes. Back in our heart 4 sounds like we all love Rip and Destroy. David Kornblatt, he was my hero as a guitarist. Yep. John Doe, who gives a family friendly about avatars. There's only one Ace. The spaceman is Ace, and he should have played the MSG shows. Yeah, that's true. We'll always remember his distinct laugh. That's John. Thunderfoot Power, I remember seeing Kiss on Paul Lynde Halloween special 1976. Wasn't that awesome? That was cool. Didn't they also do Beth in that one? Because I remember seeing the live thing. Cause I can't remember what the song they played, but I think they also did Beth on that. William Selmy, I saw them at Monsters of Rock 1988 with Sammy Hagar. They were great. Yeah, that was their big thing. Red Skywalker, I thought he meant fake Kiss, evil robot Kiss. It's so great. Okay, Frank Rose, just found my ticket stub for the McMorran Place Arena, March 7th, 86, unmasked, seen Kiss masked, found the band so much freaking better. Paul said they had nothing to hide. Crowd lost it. John, the whole state of Maine is in mourning over his death. He motivated all of us young roll kids. We're all about blind. LM Jordan, Gene and Paul were so pros. Ace provided the more easygoing behavior and highly creative solos and vocal lines in all the albums and songs. The highlights, yes, that's true. Thunderfoot Power, yes, in Detroit Rock City. Phosphorus Scotsman, did Beth on... Yes, they did Beth, and thank you for bringing that up. Because then he's sitting there singing it, and then they kind of all walk out at the end. It's kind of weird. But I remember that. That whole thing was a little weird. Let's see here. Red Skywalker, cool bud. We have a special love for Kiss. My classmate loved Ace more than Ed. David Kornblatt, actually the first Ace album is better than Van Halen. Van Halen, which one is it said? Van Halen, oh, that's funny. Them's probably fighting words for some people. And Rick Graham, the 7th Cavalry Kiss Midnight Special. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to wrap it up here, but because I get up at 4 o'clock every morning too, and we got to call it a night. But hey, again, I just want to say thank you for being here. This is important for all of us, obviously, and this is a big deal. And I had to do this tonight. Had to stop and take the time to just think about this and appreciate and let's do that. Appreciate this. You know, take a moment as you mourn. Also appreciate the fact that we had this as part of our lives. You know, that we got to enjoy this, that we got to have this really amazing stuff during those formative years. Sometimes when you feel a little bit lost, sometimes feel like a little bit of an outcast, and we had these characters to create something for us, to give us confidence, gave us something to turn to, gave us great music to listen to, gave us courage, and because Kiss did that for a lot of us. Anyway, hey, if you don't mind, we really would appreciate if you're not following the channel already, please follow the channel. We always appreciate that. Share this with other people, because there's probably a lot of people, obviously, millions of people that weren't here tonight that would probably enjoy kind of the back and forth we've had with this evening. And we'll probably certainly be doing some Kiss shows over the next week. I've got a bunch of things coming up in the near future, but we'll work some things in coming up real soon. And again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being a part of this group of people that watch these shows that we produce every day. Most days we put things out. It really means the world to me personally, to have so many people that engage, that are part of this, that give me feedback, that watch these videos, and we're creating what we think is a fairly little successful channel here, and we want it to be something that all of you can kind of come to, where it's a place where we all get it, if you know what I mean. So anyway, I'm here alone, so I have to walk in the other room to turn off the live stream. So I'm gonna shut down now. I'm gonna say again, have a good night. Thank you for being here, and again, rest in peace, Ace Frehley, and thank you to him for all the amazing stuff that he generated and created over the years for all of us to enjoy. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, have yourself a fantastic day.